Oh, hey, nerds. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. We'll be starting in one moment. How's everybody feeling? Did everybody survive yesterday? Was Smolder okay? Oh, why'd the music turn off? That's not great. Smolder, what'd you do to my settings, dog? Oh, hey! How's it going, everybody? Welcome, welcome. You're dead? Why are you dead? Don't be dead. There's no need for death. What's up, Shades? What's up, Mushroom? What's up, Bildo? He changed it all, said it was dumb? Dang. He's so silly. How's it going, Artist? How's it going, Agawin? Agawin, I feel like I haven't seen you in a hot minute. How you doing, buddy? Geostellar? Ghost Huck? Ghost Hucknull. That's a cool name. Akeem, welcome back, buddy. Mike Halwayne, love to have you. And yes, I do love how you make me pronounce your name with your spelling. And I do love that you are still okay with that. What's up, bro the boss? What's up, DM Kenobi? DM Kenobi. Hey, I know some people in your family. Plumber Snump, dude, I saw you started to set up your Instagram. Very cool. Eliza the Smithy, how's it going? The Two-Piece Man, how's it going, buddy? Geostellar. Yeah, it's because you've been active in the server. You don't think I'm there? I'm spying. But also, hi. Redmer? Redmer, I got you covered, buddy. You hope your questions are not going to be weird? Well, I guess that's kind of, we'll see, right? The thing is, let me ask you guys a question, because there's been something I've been thinking about doing. And I don't know if it makes sense or not. The way that the show works right now, people can ask questions in the chat, or yeah, fancy mug team. Listen, if you know, you know. So the way the show works right now is you can ask questions or, share things that you want to talk about in two ways. One is you can share them in the chat. Or two is you can call in. And the way that you call in is you go into my Discord, and there's a Discord waiting room voice channel. You go into that, and it puts you into an automatic queue. But there is potentially an inherent flaw with both of those systems that I'm seeing that I'm not sure what to do about. And I have an idea, but I want to make sure it works, and I want to make sure I do it in the right way. And that is that I think that a lot of the time people feel more comfortable asking questions or being more honest with the sort of questions they want to ask if they can be anonymous. In my experience, in my minor experience in the education world, when you add a level of anonymity to people being able to sort of put themselves in a vulnerable position, often they'll get to the point and they'll you know what I mean? They'll be a little bit more bolder in sharing the things that they're uncertain of. So, I think that maybe some I don't think we're going to do it tonight because I haven't set it up properly, but I think that what we'll probably do for the next one of these shows is we'll do a combination of, we'll do call-ins, but we'll also have like a form that you can fill out that will be anonymous. So you can just submit a question. So I'll have like, I'll look to the form and I'll look to the voice and sort of go back and forth. That way, A, if people can't call in and they want to ask a question, they can do that. But B, if people want to ask a question that they're like a little nervous to ask or a little scared to ask, they can ask. Does that sound good to everybody? How's class? What are you learning about? But we're not doing that tonight. Because I didn't think about it actively until I sat down on my computer. But next week. And I think Patrick's going to join us tonight. I'll see if he's going to hop into the voice call. Oh, I want to turn off all of those sound settings. I don't like any sound settings. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I can hear you fine. You sound a little bit fuzzy, but that's fine.
Oh, interesting. That's not my favorite thing in the world.
That's okay. It's okay. You sounded a little bit better in that sentence.
Okay. Fair enough.
How are you, man?
I'm good. Got to hang out. Got to watch some Smolder last night. That was an experience.
What was that like? I tried to watch a couple times, but he kept not letting me watch.
I'm pretty much the same, you know. He's got that energy.
Was the advice good at least?
Yeah, generally speaking, it was nice. It was nice to finally say what we were all thinking in a couple of places. You know, I think you know, whether or not you're a fan, there's some honesty in it, and I think that's admirable.
Okay. Listen, if it was helpful for some people, listen, I'm not. Look, people wanted him to come back, so. If it was a good time, I'm happy for it.
Turns out everyone in your chat is really into humiliation as a concept.
Yeah, I guess so.
I doubt you like this chat.
Yeah. They're a bunch of gosh darn weirdos.
There was one moment last night that I thought was pretty fucking hilarious, where somebody submitted some My Little Pony homebrew, and Smolder was just in on the fetish bit in a way that was really the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. Listen.
Okay, listen. Look. Family's family, you know. So if he's doing a good job, we'll keep him around. But yeah, it's my show again. You nerds, welcome. What are we doing today? Today we're doing a call-in show. And I could make a little call-in show sign. I probably should do that. Let's do that really quickly. So Patrick, have you done one of these before?
I've dropped in once or twice. I don't think I've been around for too terribly long, but yeah, I've been here. We've been around a lot.
Which blocks have you been around?
At least 8.
What font should I make this?
Definitely papyrus.
I don't know if I have papyrus as an option. Who's
Robert
right?
Hartley GM with the raid?
Oh my goodness, Robert Hartley GM, you silly fiend, you. How's it going, buddy?
Oh.
Welcome to the show. Welcome. Who just showed up? Hey, Rob, who are you interviewing today? Hi, welcome to the show. My name is CinderBlocksally. Welcome. Hi, how's it going? Love to see you. Love to have you. I'm Robert's cousin. And he and I grew up together, and we were gonna do a show that was gonna be about a D&D helpline, but we're gonna take the opportunity to tell you a devious plan that I have, because Rob, if you don't know, has gotten into YouTube Shorts, which is wonderful, but one thing that I don't think he has realized and taken the full potential of yet is that you can stitch YouTube Shorts in the same way that you can TikToks, and Rob does a lot of these, like, talking head videos where he tells you some interesting idea or helps you interpret a rule in D&D, but he uses a lot of like words and sentences to do so that if you clip in the right way can be taken out of context very easily. And I have in my drafts in my phone at least 3 videos that I keep forgetting to put out that are moments that I have pulled from Rob's videos to create situations where it looks like Rob is saying something inappropriate. And I'm very excited for that. Anyway, welcome to the show. We're not really going to do any of that today, though. We are doing D&D Helpline. So here's the way it works. If you have a question that you want to ask, a story that you need to tell, a journey that you're having trouble on, you can bring us that question. I'm CinderBlocksally, and on the voice up with us today, floating in the ether, is the great Patrick Perini. You can say hi if you want.
Hello. Hi, if you want.
Patrick is the dungeon master of the podcast Unbalanced Encounters. He and I are also co-writing a D&D thing together. So anyway, welcome to the show. The other way that you can ask a question, you can ask questions in chat, yep. If you want to call in my Discord, there's a waiting room that you can go into, and you just get added to a queue, and we're going to start pulling people into the waiting room, pulling people in from the waiting room and answering questions. But you can also just ask questions in the chat. And it's going to be kind of a chill night. It's going to be kind of a chill night. Normally I yell and talk about homebrew and grammar and D&D rules and how to make things balanced and stuff.
We're vibing.
I don't know where I should put my little D&D helpline sign. I think, you know what? I think actually maybe the best move is just to like... What if I just do this the whole show?
Just keep changing
D&D helpline. D&D helpline. The thing is, sometimes, you know what's crazy, Pat? Sometimes people that are other content creators that are like much more real than I am will reach out to me and they'll be like, Cinder, you're my best friend, and you're so cool and amazing. And I'll be like, stop. No, they don't really do that. But on multiple occasions, folks who I think are much better at this than I am have said that I do cool things on stream, but actually I'm just wiggling my mouse around on my overlay.
I mean, I think that
I just don't set anything up.
We're gonna get emotionally real here for a second.
Yeah.
We're gonna go on a little journey.
Yeah.
You have no idea how to use OBS. You've been piecing it together on hope and good faith for your entire streaming career.
Yep.
I think you'll agree. Be the first person to agree with that.
I've built a battleship out of duct tape.
What you have is an incredible sense of what that battleship should fucking look like.
Yeah.
You are willing to render an artistic vision of a battleship out of duct tape.
I accept.
I think it shows.
Lizzie said, you're illusionary. No, I am not illusionary. I do manifest the flesh vessel for stream, though. Will you guys ever make an Unbalanced Encounters campaign set in Waste and Wild? Maybe. Maybe. Good question. We have plans for the future that involve multiple things. One of those things might be that.
I'll put it this way. I think there's probably no universe in which I don't run a Waste and Wild game in which Cinder plays. Whether or not it's an Unbalanced Encounters thing, I don't know. But at some point, I'm going to run a Waste and Wilds game, and Cinder's going to play, and it's going to be great.
Yes, it is. No, please do not DM me in Discord. You can just ask in the YouTube chat if you have a question. How would Wool make a Tarask track if a Tarask could track wool? How much wool would a Tarask track if a Tarask could track wool? I think 300 wool. 300 wool. And if it was, and depending on if it was a train track, it could be more because it does double damage to structures and objects. I don't know if you would consider wool, I guess it's an object.
It's an object, yeah, it's an object. Absolutely.
Yeah. How can
somebody above asked, I think TKD Gamer asked, how does one get past the locked door? No fucking clue.
A locked door? That's not a real question.
Yeah.
You silly goose.
I know.
You fiend.
It's too philosophical for this. Honestly.
Find a window. That's the way. If I was a poster, if I was a motivational poster, that's the answer. Find a window. When you can't find a door, find a window. And then get arrested for breaking and entering.
Yeah.
If you want to upset your DM as soon as the campaign starts, just refuse to engage in a positive way. It's very easy. You just don't do anything.
If you want to upset them in the way where they're like, God damn it, that's so good, which is a very different energy, do the opposite of that and show up so hard and so out of the box that they'll be blinded by your breath. Don't do that. You're fine. Just show up. You'll be fine.
Let's pull in a caller. Unless I haven't seen any non-joke questions in the chat. I would have answered one, but that's okay. I'm here for the joke questions.
Get there.
I'm here for the joke questions. Wait, listen.
It just means you use the handyman's secret weapon of mending.
If it floats just means you use the handyman's secret weapon of mending. What does that sentence mean, Michael Wayne? If it floats just means you use the handyman's secret weapon of mending. What does that sentence mean?
Oh, is that in reference? That's in reference to the boat thing. That's in reference to the battleship at a dock.
All right, everybody calm down. It's going to get spooky in here, okay? It's going to get really spooky because we're about to have a ghost in the chat. Is everyone ready?
Oh, man.
I'm going to pull in our first caller.
Oh, boy.
This is Ghosty. Hey, Ghosty.
Howdy, Ghosty.
Hello.
Welcome. How's it going, buddy?
Howdy.
It's going good. I've had a good day. Have you?
Oh, very well, very well. Today was a day of human flesh vessel responsibilities. What can I do for you today? What can we do? What's going on? What's on your mind?
So, I've just finished like a plot point in my story, and I don't know how to continue the story from there, I guess.
Could you tell us a little bit about the plot point?
So, my party goes on a quest to a village, and they kill a false Hydra. They come back, and I know I want something to do with like the king. I just don't know what to do. It's just like all random, I guess.
Have they had any encounters that would make them start thinking about the king as a presence in the game much at all?
100%. Yeah, they've had like events centered around them and him, I guess.
Do you know what you want to do with the king or not really?
Yeah, and I want him to, because the king's a child. I want him to essentially use him as a political puppet, I guess. So a war will start because I really want there to be a war.
That's such a dungeon master. That's such an appropriate thing to say as a dungeon master, but such an inappropriate thing to say in any other circumstance.
I love wars. I love history.
Okay, so you want a war, and it's a child king, and do you know what you want that war to be about? Like, okay, let me ask another question. The more important than the war is what the war is. Like, war is very vague. Like, who is it? Is it with? Do you want it to be with a neighboring nation? Do you want it to be something like a civil war, like an uprising? Do you have a direction with that in mind?
Yeah, so it's going to be a civil war because people don't really like to. Statistically, throughout history, people don't like child rulers being on the throne, and because they think they're incompetent and fools. So I'm gonna do something with that. I just don't know what to do with that.
Okay, I have an idea, but I also have been talking a lot. Patrick, do you have a thought, or do you want me to share mine first?
Carry on, my friend.
All right, here's my thought. I think the question that you have to ask yourself is, how do you want to introduce this idea to the players? Because the way you do that is going to have a big impact on which side they might sort of start on. Not necessarily which side they'll end on, but what side they'll start on. So, for example, the first thing that came to mind for me was they could encounter some people that are dealing with an issue, like whether it's like there's more bandits in town or there's no food or something, but they're dealing with an issue that comes from this child king making a bad decision, doing some incompetent thing. And thank you very much, Michael Wayne, for the sub. And doing some sort of bad decision that harms them, and the adventurer is going in to like help them from that, and from that them learning about seeds of rebellion. And that would be a way to sort of introduce them to that if you wanted them to enter into it on that side potentially. If you wanted them to enter into it on another side, you could have it be almost more of an RP thing where they go to a town and they step into like a town hall, and maybe they're seeing this group of rebels trying to convince the town to start joining in this civil war, and the rebels are obviously like very unintelligent and very clearly seem sort of judgmental, and basically their only logic is a child shouldn't rule. That would probably make them be like, oh yeah, I mean, that's okay, we know those guys are there, but like, we're not going to judge this kid just yet, you know?
Okay.
But have them bump into the rebellion starting in one way or another. I think that's the angle.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Cool. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns, yearnings, aspirations?
I think I might have given my players too much money.
That's okay.
Oh,
you can just adjust how much things cost.
All right then. Okay.
Yeah. Or have somebody steal it all.
All right,
man. All right. Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Amazing.
All right, that was Ghosty. Oh, you know what? Oh wait, why is my round of applause? Why are my round of applause tracks gone and they're replaced with coughing people?
That's really funny.
Okay, wait.
I feel like Smolder maybe did that. That feels like a Smolder thing.
Okay, well, let me just fix. Okay, I got it back. Anyway, thank you very much for calling in. Little round of applause for Ghosty. Always bold to be the first caller, the first participant on any show, you know?
And for a politics question too, right? Like,
yeah.
Politics is tough in games.
Yeah.
It's especially tough when you are not sure exactly where your players are going to land.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to. I totally get the idea of the fun of running war because it can introduce so many like little different moments of conflict, and you can tell so many different types of stories with war as sort of the backdrop. But I do feel like the most important thing for me in running, if I was going to run a war, would be the context of that war. Like, I feel like that's the dressing, that's the flavor. Is like, is this aliens?
I think that's right.
So that's the thing. Like, I would want to. I would almost want to make sure I had a stronger sense of that before I did anything else. Just because I do think that is going to help what makes everything kind of feel unique to this story in this campaign.
Yeah, and especially I think because war is so often something that happens outside of your immediate context, right? Like when you think about like war is not a thing that one individual can experience holistically. You're experiencing a battle, a skirmish, tension, political maneuvering, potentially oppression, right? Violence, but you're not experiencing war as like a whole thing. So you're going to have to figure out what the lens is there, right? Like how do you want your players to experience this war, and what makes it aesthetically meaningful to them? I think is
meaningful, but also like unexpected or fun also. Like,
ideally,
I think the best world building from a player perspective is when you reveal something about the world that is like they never would have thought of it, but it totally makes sense for the context of that world, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Master KX7 in the chat asked, I didn't read this beforehand, so we'll see. When you are in a wild magic zone or an area of fears and you end up triggering a surge, I'm assuming that's some wild magic surge, do you roll on the wild magic sorcerer's table for an effect, or do those areas have their own wild magic effects tables you provide in a campaign book or something? That is an amazing question. Okay, so the basics of the question is, if you're in the wild magic table exists, and that's what the sorcerers use. But there's plenty of times in D&D where there might be areas of wild magic or crazy stuff. And the question is, should you use the wild magic table or make up your own table? What do you think, Pat?
9 times out of 10, use what's in the book. There's not going to be a lot of great reason to go fishing for something different. There are, right? In one campaign that I ran, I had a wild magic table that I created for a paladin subclass that was very sort of Lovecraftian in almost all of its outcomes, in a way that the wild magic sorcerer table wasn't. So if you've got, again, a strong aesthetic reason to do something different, you can. But if you really want it to feel kind of like wacky, zany, wild magic sorcerer, use the table. It's there.
Yeah. I think if you use the wild magic table, the only thing to keep in mind is that, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how you want the wild magic in your world to feel when it's happening kind of chaos-wise, is that the wild magic table rolls, it's better than, the ratio is generally better than worse. Because it is, at the end of the day, the
true.
wild magic table is designed to be used for the sorcerer as like a subclass feature. So more often than not, it's either going to benefit you. So that can kind of make you feel more free in having wild magic and using that table, because you can kind of trust that at the end of the day, it's going to be better more often, it's going to be funny sometimes, and it's going to be bad occasionally. But if you want your wild magic to feel darker, or if you want your wild magic to feel more dramatic, then you might want to either take some things out of the table, or replace them, or build a smaller table. The other thing is that if you're going to be playing in a game where you're going to be in an area of wild magic for like a day, you don't need a crazy table because you're not rolling it a million times. You only need a table with so many options for the wild magic sorcerer because it's part of a core class feature. So it has to be kind of random feeling for 20 levels. But if you only need that wild magic table for an encounter, for a session, it can have 10 things on it and it's still going to feel pretty random.
Cinder, it's so funny because I glossed over this in my brain and I'm just now piecing it together. I literally faced this conundrum. There was in episode 1 of Unbalanced Encounters, we hit a thing where somebody slugged a magic potion that I was like, hey, this feels like it should be kind of wild magic-y. What should I do? I reached for the wild magic sorcerer table because we didn't need it to be that random for forever. A smaller table would have sufficed, but it was already done. And I knew it was going to be net good.
And it was easy.
So
it's an easy fix. If you don't want to make one, it's an amazing fix if you don't want to make one. This is a good question too. How do you deal with College of Eloquence, persuasion, deception ability without being annoying to others? And I want to say, Pat, this question I feel like I get all the time, or in some way or another. But it's like, how do you deal with a character that can't roll below like a 16 on deception and persuasion? That's hard.
First things first. I have to get up on my soapbox and say, D&D doesn't have rules for anything that isn't combat. The plus to perception and to persuasion and deception don't mean anything mechanically. They just don't. And that's often a bad thing in D&D. It puts a lot of pressure on the GM, but it can be a good thing. And I got a lot to say on this one because this is one of my favorite questions ever. I think that the right answer lies in kind of thinking in parallel lines to the thing that's happening. Don't ever let persuasion and deception at your table be I'm telling the truth or I'm telling a perfectly convincing lie button. The outcome of the roll should dictate the outcome of the circumstance. So if somebody rolls incredibly high on a deception, say they get like a 30 on their deception, right? Maybe their lie is going to get believed, but what interesting unintended consequences is that lie going to have on that player? Don't just let it be a win button. And stealth fits into this too, right? Your stealth roll should not just be I am completely imperceivable button. Pass without trace is not perfect invisibility for a whole team. It makes you good at stealth, but there are consequences that live outside of that. So you've got to think kind of in parallel. You've got to think like, okay, you've persuaded the king to do the thing that you wanted. You rolled incredibly well above what his potential insight could be. So now what? He hands you all of the power of making this decision, and all of the responsibility falls on you. And now everyone in the kingdom is going to want you dead if that ends up being the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Think about what's happening in parallel.
That's a better answer than I was going to give.
What answer are you going to give? Because it's honestly probably a little more fresh.
I was going to say that you have a couple options, and I think your answer is better than what I was going to say, but what I was going to say is be decisive before, be decisive, like, when moments are you know your players, okay? So you kind of start to learn the patterns of, I know how often this bard is going to be attempting persuasion and deception, and you can kind of see it coming a lot of the time. In fact, usually they will say the thing they want to say in character, and then afterwards say, can I do a persuasion check or a deception check, or you ask for one after or whatever. So as they're saying that thing, decide in your head with certainty what the DC of that roll is, and be brutal with it, and decide immediately, like, and be a little bit more okay with it. Like, I think that as dungeon masters, we do a lot of yes-anding, because we want to always, we want the players to feel like they're winning. And a lot of the time, if a DC for a charisma check should be 20 and a player rolls a 17, I'm like, okay, they got a 17. That's close enough. They're going to get what they need to get. But be like, okay, no, I decided the DC was a 20. They have this power. They shouldn't, a roll of a 17 is low for them. But just be that serious across the board. You know, just be a little bit more, you have to, if you don't want to do what Patrick is doing, which is like sort of going and branching ideas and pulling them in, and you're trying to gamify it, you have to start gamifying it, where you start to treat, you have to start treating persuasion checks like attack rolls, where the DC is like an AC that just has to hit, more basically in the way that it's done in like Baldur's Gate.
Well, and honestly, I think that if you are going to go down that road, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with pulling that playstyle out, a good trick to make that stuff fit better in your head is say the DC out loud. When you call for the persuasion check, say, if you hit a 20, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you hit a 25, this is what's going to happen. If you hit a 35, this is what's going to happen.
That's cool. You gamify it beforehand so it feels cool. Yes. Yeah. That's a good idea.
You brought up Baldur's Gate, and that's exactly how Baldur's Gate plays.
That's a good idea.
You roll to hit it.
That's a good idea. I like it. And
so, and the cool thing is like, I've played some College of Eloquence bars. I really like them. I always felt like I was at my best when someone else was trying to make a persuasion point, was trying to make a persuasion check, and the GM gave us that option. If you hit a 30, this is going to clear. And then that gave us a beat to be like, hey, actually, can I take that dialogue off your hands for you? Because I'm the one with the mechanical advantage, and you can give me the help action, right?
Yeah.
You laid the groundwork, now let me put the icing on the cake, and we can get it done.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're fostering collaboration with your players instead of just giving somebody a win button.
Yeah. See, this is why you're my dungeon master. This is why you're my dungeon master. Yeah. By the way, for anybody that just got here post the raid, I don't remember if I mentioned, but Patrick is the dungeon master of the podcast that I play in, and it's called Unbalanced Encounters, and it's all over the place. I play a giant robot named Guard, and if I was going to elevator pitch the podcast, it is... The vibe is somewhere between Studio Ghibli and Gravity Falls, and the story at the beginning of the story, it goes past this, but the beginning of the story is that there's a small lumber town which is harvesting old ancient trees from the forest for its magical sap, because the evil government is sort of forcing them to, and the forest is getting angry and starting to fight back, and 2 of the players play people that are local from the town, and 2 of the players play people that are sent there from the military to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to. It's pretty good. I play a big scary robot.
Very scary at times, which is, I can't tell you the number of times that we get comments on like YouTube videos and stuff where somebody's like, fucking 1 hour 33 minutes, Guard line goes so fucking hard. I read so many.
Calm down. I'm gonna sneeze in a minute. I can feel it coming. It's not here yet. Somebody asked this question like 3 or 4 times, so I'm gonna answer it quickly. But I didn't answer it because I sort of feel like it's the same answer that I had for the person about how should they start the campaign with their king. How do you implement multiple opposing factions in D&D? I'm trying to make a campaign where 3 countries have a meeting spot in between them. The players would have a choice of who to join. So honestly, it's the same exact answer I had to Ghosty about how to deal with showing a civil war. You have to start showing what those factions are doing, how they live. Start showing the effects that they have on the people as you introduce them. And I actually think the best way to introduce them would to have the party meet one first. Because think about it like this. Like, think about any series, any good... Like, Game of Thrones is actually a really good example of this.
Really good.
You don't follow every single faction in the first season of Game of Thrones. You pretty much just follow one. You pretty much just follow Winterfell. there's other bits and pieces, but Winterfell is the story for season 1. And then there's like a jillion stories after that, but you need that first story to kind of hook everybody in. So I would focus in on one faction as an introductory faction, maybe that is with them as they're traveling there. And then when they get there, they can start to see the cultures and the sides of the other ones. I think that would help.
There's also
help, like, you know, I don't know. I think it would help ingratiate them more into it.
No, I agree. There's also a little thing right at the end there. The choice, making a choice. Which side do they want to be on? I think is important, and we can abstract it out a level to like, how do you get your players to make choices in D&D? And the answer is deceptively simple. Show them the consequence of the outcome of the choice, right? Because when you're like, oh, there are 3 opposing factions, my brain, as a player, would immediately go to, all right, how do I get into all of them and play them all against each other for my benefit?
Yeah, that's true.
If you want that, that's fine. But if you don't want that, if you want them to pick a side, you have to telegraph, visualize for them the minute that they are seen to be allying with any, word will quickly spread and they will be shut out of the other 2 options. There has to be a consequence.
Yeah. Consequences are the best, aren't they? Should we bring in bro? Let's bring in. This is my bro and yours. This is bro the boss.
Bro the boss? That name goes hard.
Hey bro, what's up? Hello?
Howdy.
Hello. Let me just mute the stream real fast. Hello.
How's it going, buddy? Yeah.
Me every time.
It's going good. This is like my 2nd time here, I believe.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring in I need some help with the campaign I'm conceptualizing in my mind, but I need some help.
Sure.
So I want to run. I think I posted it on one of your shorts. I made a comment if many of you didn't see it. Anyway, I want to run a campaign based off of old anime. It's called Power Stone. It was also a video game, but basically, to summarize it, there's stones that have that give you magical abilities. That give you like a suit of armor or like a costume, basically, that gives you like magical abilities. Like, I really like that concept. I want to put it into a D&D campaign, but the thing that's always like kind of like stopping me is like I'm gonna be completely fair to my players, but like if I give one stone like at one at a time, I don't want my like, let's say I give it to a first player, I want all the other players saying like, oh, they get this magical abilities now, and I'm still don't have anything.
I got you. Like in Critical Role, where one player would have 4 vestiges of divergence and one wouldn't have any.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen Critical.
No, but I understand. How do you want to put these awesome power objects in your game, and you want to build part of the game at least around getting those objects, but you don't want. Okay, I want to. Can I offer a tweak? And this might be a way to make it work.
All right.
What if instead of each of these objects being incredibly powerful, each of these objects has incredible potential for power, and each one gets an object immediately, and they have to do that journey that they were going to have to go on to get the objects is not the journey to get the objects, it's the journey to get whatever MacGuffin they need to unlock aspects of the object, so they all sort of level up with them together.
I kind of like that. Yeah, I kind of like it.
Would that work within the fiction that you're trying to do?
So in Power Stone, there's kind of like. I think in Power Stone, like the ending, they think I want to do like a sequel, but all my players, no one's ever seen the anime. But anyway, I think it could work, like because like there'll be new Power Stones, but like they're all weakened and like it's like 30 years old, but like all the Power Stones get destroyed in the ending. But then
that could also lead into the part if there are other Power Stones out there that are weakened, there could be other people that are trying to do this, and it could almost be like a race to get to these places to unlock aspects, and there could be rivals, or maybe other people could try to be stealing theirs. You could all do all sorts of stuff with that. That sounds cool. I'm gonna be honest. Can I tell you something? Nothing. Okay, you just told me that you want to be true to this as a sequel to an anime that you like that none of your players know about. And that made me so happy. That is so fun, because That is true love of the thing that you're trying to inspire it off of, but also acknowledging the silliness of that, because it sort of doesn't matter, but it also matters a lot. And that, I just love that. So I loved that so much.
I just like, I think it's a fun, like, in like the original anime, it's just like they're trying to find all these power objects, and it's gotta be, it has one of my favorite villains of all time. It's like, it's foreshadowed all of the series. It's like, I might just do something like that.
It's great to take inspiration from stuff you love.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
But I think that's all I really need.
Cool, man. Cool.
Nice.
All right, thank you very much for the call.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, see you, buddy.
Bye.
That is I have never done that before, but that is a wonderful passion for a thing, to be like, okay, I want to figure out how to make this true to it for me. For me.
How funny would it be? How funny would it be if you just ran like a one piece, like you're just a separate pirate crew, and occasionally you run into like what Luffy or whatever the hell his name is.
That would be the way to do it.
I've ever seen One Piece.
I think that would be the way to do it, though. You'd have to work really hard to make them care about that character, because you never know who a PC is going to care about. They're going to end up care about Marine number 6 or something.
You're not wrong.
Let me see. Did anybody ask anything in the chat during that little call?
Yeah, how are we doing?
Beepity boppity boo. My party increased from 3 to 5.
Round of applause.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
For bro.
Round of applause for my bro and yours, bro the boss. Thank you for calling in. Thank you. Asked and answered, Patrick. Asked and answered. Okay, party increases from 3 to 5. What are some effective ways to increase difficulty on dungeons and fights that doesn't seem unfair? The party consists of a druid, 2 fighters, an artificer, and a barbarian. So here's what I'm going to say immediately.
Yeah.
You can put your monsters can have a lot of hit points.
First of all,
your monsters can have a lot of hit points. Second of all, you have 2 very viable healers in your party. So you have a lot of freedom. You have one of the you genuinely have one of the parties you have to think about the least in terms of balancing. But I think that adding 2 players is a lot. I would say it's
a lot from a story perspective. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot from a story perspective, but also from all perspectives. Like, you know, adding 1 new player to the game is a lot of power.
Big dynamic shift. Yeah.
Like, if I had a group of level 3 players that, if I was balancing a fight, if I had a party of 3 level 3 players, I would throw an owlbear at. A party of 5 level 3 players, I would feel comfortable throwing probably like a wyvern at, which is twice the CR, maybe.
But I guess my question is, like, what does it mean to feel unfair? Like, they get 2 new players. Okay, fine. You don't want to change anything in the middle of combat. So if they got 2 new players in the middle of combat, let them just absolutely curb stomp this combat with all 5 players, right? Like, that's fine. Then behind the next door, there's just a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy, isn't it good?
And if you don't want it to feel like a bigger thing, you can also add numbers. So with the owlbear example, you could also have them fight 2 owlbears, or an owlbear instead of them encountering an owlbear, they encounter an owlbear and 2 bandits that have been training the owlbear. So now it's not just an owlbear, it's an owlbear and 2 bandits.
And honestly, if you're in the middle of the fight and you're like, yeah, they're kind of rushing through this in a way that maybe I didn't quite need it, like, give one of the assassins, like, a stunning poison on their dagger. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do to just kind of slowly boil that frog if you're worried about overshooting, but I also wouldn't really be worried about overshooting.
Like, how about a swarm of owlbear? That would be the funniest thing. You would have to... Okay, if you ever run a campaign... And there is a campaign book where this happens for a moment, but I won't spoil which one because I don't want to spoil it for people. But if you ever run a campaign where you have the opportunity for your players to become giant in size, and I would say even more than giant, I'd go like little kaiju in size. One of the first things that I would do would be what would be a weird monster to make a swarm of? Because now you could have a swarm of that. Because a swarm of owlbear would be a legit monster if your players were like 50 feet tall.
that big. Yeah, right. I mean, it could be a real thing. You just probably wouldn't be able to fight it at medium. Like, you could do it. You got like a form of owlbear on like a plain, like a herd of buffalo, but it's just owlbear, you know?
Yeah. That would be cool. That's majestic as fuck. You know what I was just envisioning? I was just envisioning the old Windows Windows screen, and
just coming up over the hill.
But that like sort of light and more fluffy color of the owlbear, just like slowly moseying over the horizon. I want to live in that world. I want to go. How do I go back to that world?
Let me tell you about this great game called Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, but I can't smell it, man. I can't feel the wind on my face.
True.
All right, let's grab Geostellar. Let's grab Geostellar.
All right, cool.
What's up, Geo? How's it going, buddy? Geo, you gotta unmute. Geo.
Sorry, I was trying to quickly mute the stream because I was watching it.
Yeah,
no worries, buddy. How's it going?
Doing good. How about you?
Oh, very well. What can we do for you today?
Okay, so I have.
Oh wait, 1 second. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I do have to say thank you, Dr. Spacecape, for the resub. I hate interrupting people, but I wanted to say that.
Oh, you do? Do you?
No.
So,
well, yes.
So it's just an idea I have for like some implementation of like a story, and I'm not sure how it is. It's a vibe. Have either of you ever played the Persona games?
I'm familiar with them, but I've never really played them.
No.
Okay, so basic conceit that I want to implement is that there's a being that is completely on the party's side, but due to some circumstances, they can't actually directly interfere with whatever's going on in the plot. They can only do the best to provide the party the tools they need to overcome whatever great ruin, whatever great enemy is like headed their way.
Okay.
And how would you like try to implement that? I'm thinking of like that's like story-wise, like that's might be like how they get their class abilities, which are more like on the mystical side, like more empowered side, or maybe some like treasure or something like that. What do you think?
I think that could work really well. Here's what I was gonna say. I was gonna go in a direction of what somebody said in the chat of like guardian angel giving boons, but when you said maybe that's where their class abilities come from, I don't know how much you've worked on character creation with the players yet, but that would be a really cool opening to a campaign where when you start session 1, they all are a common or stat block, and then something happens and they all get their class features, and all of the power, even if it's a rogue and it's their cunning action, they are getting super enhanced in different ways by these boons from this otherworldly force. And it could be magic, or it could be, as a fighter, you can, hit 1,000,000 attacks, an action surge. They don't even all need to be magic. That could be kind of fun. And then they would be so tied to the plot also.
This is something that is one of my favorite things that anyone has ever done in actual play. They did this in the Adventure Zone's second major season, Amnesty, from one of the characters, and he was quite literally his character tagline was just a guy, and he got handed all of these powers, and his whole arc was like reckoning with what that meant for his life and the huge responsibility that put on him. Right. So like if you do this as like you are my chosen 5 or however many players you have, like that's fun from a flavor perspective. It's fun from an ally perspective. It's also fun from a like did they get a choice in it perspective. And what does that mean for like the way that they sort of fly into the face of this plot?
That's true. That's true. They might be like, I want to use this power for something else.
Right.
And there could be some internal drama there.
I was just worried that like that kind of setup where I want to say like this being like giving them their class abilities. I feel like I didn't want to make that to feel like too warlocky, because that's kind of the basic idea of the warlock. But
what if it's not giving them their class abilities? What if it's more like unlocking the potential inside them.
Oh.
So it's less like, here's a gift I give you. It's like all of you, everyone in the whole world has within them like seed potential energy. And not everybody knows how to open that door. So I'm going to open that door for all of you.
Oh, I think, that could make more sense. And I think that could be really interesting in the way of how things are generally perceived and set up.
It could also be a good way to set up NP villains, because there could be other forces that are giving powers to unlocking other people's doors.
Yeah, because that's for the original Persona game. It's like an idea of like it's this bet between a benevolent and a malevolent deity to see whether humans can like overcome some like can overcome their base urges to kind of like how we try to blind ourselves from the truth to get more confident.
Then that's even better. No, then that's so good, because then it really isn't the guiding force giving them anything. It's just saying like, I'm unlocking your door, go do what, I'm
proving a point.
I'm proving a point to whatever I need to prove a point to, and I'm betting on you to prove that point.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that you can do from a narrative perspective, like when they're on their final death saving throw, have this deity like look over them and be like, if you fucking die, I'm gonna be real disappointed. You have so much potential. Get up, right? And like, you can really beat those. You can really kind of like hit those beats out in a cool way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Do you think that could also just be a way of because if I do this, I think it'd be like, maybe I'm not sure if it'd be like urban fantasy, but something where like the world isn't completely magical until this happens.
Yeah.
Because I think that makes
that also makes the players feel like fucking superheroes at level 2.
Yeah.
If the wizard is the only wizard, that's cool. That's cool at all. You don't need to. You're not yearning for Fireball. You're like, oh, nobody's ever seen anybody shoot fire out of their hands. I can do it forever. Watch, and they just start finger gunning Firebolt at people, and they run away.
Listen, just using Mage Hand in today's world would.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool, Gio. Great question. And that sounds like a fun campaign too. I don't know Persona, but that concept sounds really cool.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks for the call.
Yep.
Godspeed.
I saw a really
Persona has a good soundtrack.
All I know is I've heard people mention Persona 5, I think. I've heard that before.
It's got good jazz. If you like jazz, you like the soundtrack.
Now, I feel like this is an opinion question, where the answer is an opinion. But I do think it's a good question too, which is this person Jonah says, I'm joining mid-campaign. I want to play a paladin, but there are 2 other players that want to play it too. What do I do? So Jonah, I'm not sure if you mean that there are already 2 other paladin players, or if there are other people joining the campaign that are going to be playing paladins. But I'm gonna go on the assumption that there are 2 other people that are already paladins. Here's what I'll say. I think that, quite frankly, if there are a lot of one class in a campaign, unless you really go out of your way to make yourself build it in a distinct way, it can be a little bit tiring or frustrating. It can be easy to feel like you're not special. And a big part of D&D is about feeling special. Now, that being said, I ran a campaign for about 1.5 years that had 2 paladins. And it worked fine because they played their characters so differently. One of them you wouldn't think was a paladin half the time anyway. But if I were you, I would ask the question, what is exciting about playing a paladin to you? And see if there's anything else that fits on the class list that does those things. So, like, for example, if you're really excited by the idea of smiting, you might want to look at something like you might want to look at something like a Hexblade Warlock, and you can get the Eldritch Smite invocation. And then you're going to be somebody that is sword fighting, charisma based, getting smites, but also a completely different feeling character from a gameplay mechanics perspective, but also like a lore perspective if you take that warlock lore in. But I'm curious, Pat, the reason why I was asked about your opinion is because I feel pretty strongly that if there are already 2 classes of one in a campaign, if somebody else wanted to be that class, unless it was like an all monks campaign or like we're all being clerics or whatever, I would encourage them to do something different almost all the time. And I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think I agree, and I think what it comes down to is like, in order to do that, in order to like have so much narrative overlap, you have to have a tremendous amount of intentionality. And you just said like an Oops All Monks campaign, right? That's such a different vibe of like, you're a team of elite monks. You're gonna find the ways to feel different inside of that framework if that's the expectation going in. If that is backed into, you kind of happen into it midway through the campaign, everybody's got their character silhouette, and you come crashing in with just another one. It's going to be tough, right? It's going to be really hard to differentiate yourself. And in D&D and in all character design, you want what's called a good silhouette. You want your character to be immediately recognizably distinct from every other character, because that's just how we relate to the concept of character. And it's hard to do if you're picking something that you're playing very archetypically alongside other people who are playing very archetypically. So I agree. I think the best, being very intentional about it, pick something else.
Yeah. The best example of what you mean when you say your character should have a good silhouette is, what's that game that Valve put out? Team Fortress?
Team Fortress, yeah, is great.
Team Fortress is a perfect example of that. You can tell which every single character in Team Fortress is. If you took every character in Team Fortress and pulled away everything so it was literally just their silhouette, you could point out every single one very easily.
And also probably get a good idea of how they're going to play, right?
That's true.
The big guy's going to have a big gun. The thin, lanky, long leg guy is going to go fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not all that clear, but they're often pretty clear.
Yeah. You could also do multi-classing, and you could also use other subclasses, sure, but this is not me telling you there's a right or wrong answer here. This is me answering it as if I was your dungeon master. And if I was your dungeon master and I knew I had 2 paladin players, I'd be like, there's going to be more opportunities for you to feel special and stand out if you do something, if you pick something else.
I think that's right.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring in Michael. Wait, what is this? We're bringing Michael Wayne in a second. Let's bring in Michael Wayne, okay. And then we'll look at chat questions a little bit more. Hello, Michael Wayne.
Michael Wayne.
Hello there.
How's it going?
Howdy.
I have 2 questions. One that I think be fairly easier to answer.
Sure.
Phantom Rogue or Soul's Knife Rogue? Which do you think?
That, first of all, that's a really good question. Second of all, for me, the answer is easier because I like... The answer is, for me, is Soul Knife, but I don't actually think Soul Knife is better. I feel like Soul Knife is more... is easier to make feel like a lot of different things. I feel like Phantom Rogue is good for a handful of specific vibes of characters. And I feel like Soul Knife, those powers could be reinterpreted in so many different ways.
Soul Knife is a little bit more flexible, but if you're going for the niche that Phantom Rogue fills, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better fill for it.
Next, it was great question. You said you had another one?
Yes. This one is, I'm wondering, how do you deal with the fact that like half of the party, maybe more towards the evil, kill first, while the other half is not? How do you maintain a good route playing with everyone while still maintaining the social contract of allowing for everyone to have fun when you have that clear differentiate as a player? Like, I will not want to go out to murder, well this other player is another murder hobo.
I mean, whatever Cinder's about to say, I'm going to get out in front of, because I'm sure he's got a very good, very nuanced answer. The overarching answer, and I beat this drum all the time, talk to your players. Let them know about the tension talk about how you want to solve this together, figure out a compromise, because every table is going to look a little bit different, and the answer is going to lie in communication. Cinder may have some tactical tools, but it's going to come down to that in a big way, I think.
But isn't that just if you're going from the point of view of a DM, not a player?
Cinder, you look like were you about to?
I want to answer, but I'll answer from that perspective. I think it's only a little different. I think as a dungeon master, you have a natural. People expect you to take a leadership position in the way the game is run, and there's not like a. It's assumed that you're in charge, and it's assumed that you're going to be the one that's making suggestions about the way you guys might play the game. But I don't know if that is true, and I think the best D&D games end up being the ones where the players take as much of a role from a meta perspective of thinking about the type of game they want to play. So I think it's totally appropriate for a player to bring up to the other players that it seems like half the players really like killing everything and half the players really like not killing everything, and that it's worth it for you guys to find a middle ground so that everyone can be happy. And I think the way to do that is to go in really honestly and, make compromises. You're not going to be a pacifist party. There's no way. And you're not going to be a murder hobo party. There's no way. So you got to find a middle ground. So that middle ground might be, okay, let's go out of our way to run this, to play this campaign in a way where we are dealing with the worst people most of the time. So when we do encounter good, we can safeguard it and we can protect it and we can try to uplift it. But a lot of that is going to involve killing a lot of things. So everybody can feel like they have that space. And that can be a conversation that you guys bring to the Dungeon Master together. But it is, what Patrick said is right. It is just talking. And I think that it's just talking and going in and being like, hey, my intention is not to be like, I don't like what you're doing. My intention is to be like, I want to be able to make this work for all of us so we can all have fun together,
So going from that, would that not take away from the social contract of trying to make sure that everyone at the table has fun, and while bringing up that conversation? Because wouldn't that just drag things down?
What do you? Not in the long term. I mean, sometimes you need to have a conversation that is not fun to get to having fun. A lot of people stay in really unhealthy relationships because it's easier to stay in that relationship than the fear of leaving it, the fear of the conflict of leaving it. And that's not healthy. Because also what that happens, if that's the case, then you are breaking the social contract because you are preventing yourself from having fun because you are keeping quiet so someone else can have fun. So you are actually just as much breaking the social contract. And then the other part of that is it doesn't need to be a bad conversation. So often people go into these conversations and feel like they're going to bring them down, or it's going to be dark, or it's going to be a conflict. And it makes sense because you're coming from a place of something is wrong. So if something is wrong for you, you're bringing something to the table, but you can, there's a lot of ways to express that something is wrong. And if you do it from a place of vulnerability and from acknowledging the good in the person that you're talking to, it doesn't need to be a bad thing. It can just be, hey, that was really funny. Let's talk about, or it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be like, honestly, it should be like a random thing. Like, I wouldn't have this conversation at the table. I wouldn't have this conversation in game. I wouldn't have this conversation as a reaction to a player doing something.
Yeah,
that's, I think, it's like bringing it up in a casual moment in the group chat, just being like, hey guys, I've been having trouble having fun with the way the game has been going in some places. And I want to make sure we can all have fun. And I see that you guys really like being murder hobos, but I would like to not be a murder hobo all the time. Can we figure out how to play in a way that we can do that? I don't think that's bringing it down. And that's upholding the social contract.
Right. And I think there's an element here of like, if the people that you're playing with are your friends, a big part of what they would be getting out of the game is having fun with you. and having fun in the ways that you're having fun, helping to foster that fun. And hopefully that'd be reciprocated, right? If you're not playing with people who want that for you, or if you don't want that for the people that you're playing with, you're not at the right game. And so it shouldn't be a bringing the mood down conversation. Again, I think Cinder's point of like, don't bring it up reactively is important. Don't like wait until somebody murder hobos and be like, you guys always fucking do this. You guys suck. I hate that. Like, that's obviously not the right act. But, bring it up in that very casual sort of like, hey, I want to make sure I'm having fun. I feel like we're swinging hard toward murder hobo. Can we dial it back? Or I don't know, you might be on the other side of that. Can we dial it more toward murder hobo? Can we find a happy medium? I think is a reasonable thing to bring to your friend.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's bringing anything down for anyone.
The social contract is a constitution more than it is a rule of law. If you don't need to think about it like we set this at the beginning and now it's what it has to be, and because I didn't do a good job of expressing what I needed, or because I didn't know I was going to need to express what I needed, now I have to follow this social contract that I don't like. That's not the social contract. If the social contract isn't working, it needs to change. That's that's just the way that it works. It's not like a law document that you need to sign and then you're stuck to it. It's not a literal contract in that way.
No, it's just a social agreement.
Yeah.
But another aspect that might be important here is this isn't with friends. This is people through start playing, having a game that are random.
Then okay, so then 100% talk to the dungeon master, because they're running that professionally. You're paying for this. Right. If it is literally their job to take care of this. So it is just literally tell the dungeon master. That's it. It's super easy. If the dungeon master isn't helping, then the wonderful thing about start playing is you can find a million other dungeon masters that will be better.
Yeah, if your dungeon master is professionally running a game for you, this is something that if they're worth half their weight in salt, know how to deal with. Yeah. And updating that continuous consent is a really important part of how the good ones run their games. So reach out to them. They're going to be able to figure out how to make it right and how to foster that conversation.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a good piece of detail.
Yeah.
That's an important piece of detail.
Yeah.
It's very different to organize yourself amongst friends versus,
that's one of the nice things about having a professional dungeon master is you don't need to deal with any of this. You can literally say, you can just tell them what's going on, and it is their job to deal with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, and also thank you for always being reasonable with me needing to reformat things for thoughts and chat. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. No problem at all. All right.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Bye. All right, that was Michael Wayne. And I believe that I pronounced their name maybe correctly for the first time just now.
Nice. Well done. I have so many thoughts about how start playing games as a platform can help to foster this kind of stuff. We need to get them in this room. They need to be hearing this.
Devin is my friend. I can talk to him.
I know. Yeah. I honestly, this is good shit. Cinder, you and I are IRL friends. You know that I have worked in software professionally. As someone who used to sort of do like product management type things, hearing that exact conversation, I would in former lives have spent thousands of dollars to figure out how to get to that exact question.
All right, well, can you send me a version of that message and remind me what the conversation was about in Discord? Because I will talk to Devin about it, and maybe I'll find the clip and pull it and send it to him.
It's a good clip.
Yeah. I wouldn't want him to use it in a commercial though. Probably. No. Maybe just the things that I said would be okay. I don't like having other people thrust into the limelight unless they're comfortable with it.
Also, yeah.
Dude, have you watched Fallout?
God, no.
It's...
No.
Do you know? Okay, there's two things that you should watch. One of them I haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
The one that I have watched is Fallout.
Okay.
This is the way that you need to go into it, and if you go into it from this perspective, you are going to absolutely love it. It is a 1950s perspective of a post-apocalypse cartoon show filmed in live action. If you think about it,
few words were important. I'll have to keep that in mind.
I think it hits really hard. I think it lands because the thing is that this is what sells it for me is that all of the wackiness in Fallout that is largely there because it's just a video game and it kind of has to be there is still there. So like if I get stabbed through the chest with a sword, if I take a stim pack, I'm okay. And it makes it really fun. Actually. It makes it like there's an element of like funny. Things like do you know how like in that video like it doesn't matter. I plug this tube into this and this tube into this and now I can shoot lasers out of my rocket launcher. Things things just kind of like things work in a way that is really fun.
I'm just holding out for when somebody finally tells me that in episode 10 they glitch through the floor in classic Bethesda style. I don't
think that's going to happen, but there are so many Easter eggs from the game, and one of the other things that I did not make this theory up, but I heard it and I agree, is that the three main characters that you follow in the show follow three very intentionally follow three very distinct play styles of Fallout. The optimist hero, the violent kill everybody, and the neutral I just do what I want for myself at every choice. And I'm not good or bad. It's about what is going to benefit me in that moment.
It's really funny,
so it's like I'm gonna like fighting is the last option, fighting is the first option, and it's like I'm just doing me. And those are kind of the three main characters if you watch it. It's pretty fucking cool.
That's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good. All right.
The other movie that I have not watched yet, and you have to watch it, and I know you have to watch it, even though I haven't watched it because I have heard so much amazing thing about it. It's called it's either called Hundreds of Beavers or Thousands of Beavers, and it is a movie that was made by a group of guys in like Michigan on no budget, and it is a silent film, and it is a Looney Tunes cartoon in real life, and it's just apparently every single person that has seen it says they've never heard anybody laugh more at the theaters when they were there. It's supposed to be so funny, so good, and it's essentially like a black and white slapstick comedy with cartoon and Looney Tune elements.
That's so crazy. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I'm going to try to watch it this weekend, I think.
We should do a watch party.
I'd be down.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah. I'm going to mention both of those.
Also, chat's going nuts for Delicious in Dungeon, and
Delicious in Dungeon is so good. It's so good, and I don't even like all the characters, and I like it so much. There's one character that I fucking hate, but everyone's like, just wait, it's intentional. You'll like her later. It's the Uwu character. It's the
He gets really good.
I am just really good. But
everyone who's saying wait,
but how many episodes are there? There's only 14 episodes.
I've watched every episode that's been released. And it gets better around episode 6.
But I watched. But I'm up to date. I watched the whole thing.
Hold on. You watched the whole thing, and you saw everything that she did, and you still call her the Uwu girl?
The girl that they're trying to save.
Oh, the girl that they're trying to save.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Marcel.
I like Marcel. I'm talking about Fallon. I'm talking about Fallon.
Yeah, Fallon. Okay, that makes.
I fucking hate Fallon.
She's kind of a non-character currently, so
but it's like every single and there's just so many moments where it's like, oh, this is such a cool show. Now we have to watch like a horny weeby bullshit uwu girl scene for 2 minutes. It's like let her just be a fucking character if she's gonna be a character. But everyone's telling me to wait, and that it's like this is what I've heard. I don't know. I've heard two things. I've heard two things.
Unclear.
I've heard two things. I've heard I have to wait, and that things will be cooler with her. I've also heard that it's kind of intentional because it's the character's memories of her, and they're all very sort of like clouded. So it's like and I've heard that. And then the other thing that I've heard is that the manga doesn't do that. Yeah. The manga, they do have these stupid like memories of her that are like, oh, she's the greatest. But the show like inserted a lot of like sexual elements that the manga didn't have.
Damn. That's funny, and I didn't realize that.
So apparently I don't need to worry about it that much. And I'm saying, like, I don't care that I don't like her. The show is so good. It doesn't matter. Like, anybody that's like, I can't believe you don't like her, I'll take the heat because I love the show, man. I don't care. It's so good.
Really good. The show's really fucking good. Honestly, Senshi is just, like, one of the best, like, written and conceived characters.
They're also great. I genuinely like all of them.
They're really good.
Because they all also are like so like what's the name of the main the guy who's like the knight? What's his character's name?
Laios.
Like I love how he is such a stereotypical, normal, competent fighter. But if you talk to him for more than like 8 minutes, he's also a psychopath when it comes to how much he's obsessed with eating monsters. And it's such a weird quirk. And it's so funny. It's amazing. Like, I was laughing I was exploding. First of all, I've never had an anime make me laugh that much. But also, I was like spitting laughing when he was getting upset that he couldn't eat animated armor. And was like trying to figure out how he could.
So obsessed with it. The internet.
It's so funny.
The Autism Knight, and I love that moniker so fucking much. It's such a good show.
I just think he's such a. Honestly, it's such a good. Also, it's a good way to build a D&D character. It's like, I don't know, I'm just gonna have one weird quirk. Okay, cool. But if you run with it, you can build a whole world out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His hyperfixation truly is the whole plot. It's the whole thing. The plot is also, you know, it's you know what's so weird about it is that it sort of swings between being like a comedy and like brutal and then like a PBS show. Because there's so many parts where they like hold hands and it's like the power of friendship. Like, oh, it looks like if I put my skills with your skills, we could solve this problem. You know, it's like, And then the problem is making fried chicken.
Well, they do solve every problem by cooking, which is amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's
all
very.
Right, we're gonna stop talking about delicious and dungeons.
All right, let's grab somebody. Let's grab somebody from the. Let's grab somebody from the waiting room. Let's grab Luke. Hello, Luke. How's it going?
Neither of us are your father.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. How's it going, buddy?
You're good.
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing tonight?
Very well. What can we do for you?
All right, so I have 2 questions primarily. One of them's very much gameplay and story related, and the other one's a bit of a social situation I'm trying to navigate right now, but I could use the advice of other DMs and people that can navigate related stuff to like whole social and game stuff.
Yeah.
First things first, I'm going to do the game-based question. So at the moment, I'm sort of in the sort of 3/4 through a very long-term game I'm running at the moment. And we're getting sort of to the wrapping up point where I'm introducing a lot of the late game players. You know, my party's just leveled up to level 15, so we're at that sort of general level of play. The setting is homebrew. For a little bit of context, the setting is a very much localized within one very urban city in a sort of Victorian era of like technology and aesthetics. So our fighter is using a firearm, and almost every single time they like fight like a group of monsters, they have like pretty modern technology. They just got done with an arc surrounding a bunch of a robot factory, and all the robots came sentient, and that caused a whole bunch of political issues. But at the moment, we're about to sort of hop into the next arc, and I'd like a little bit of advice, just sort of covering sort of the scenarios and think of some sort of fun, creative D&D twists to do with this concept. And what that is the main villains are committing arson against a very prominent university where a lot of the PCs are based out of. So this university, you know, has a lot of the major NPCs. It's where a lot of sort of discoveries and other places important to the campaign have been based out of. And all of that, while the characters were out on an adventure, it just goes up in flames. So they're coming back to it. They don't know what happened. They don't know who caused it. Several of these key NPCs are dead. from the fire or from events that happen during the fire that the main villains use the fire to cover up. So I kind of want to sort of workshop that for the next like however many minutes I have with you guys before I need to move on to my next question.
What do you want to workshop about it?
I guess just... So, my major idea with it was just an arson happens and the players investigate.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of always my elevator pitch in my mind before I go further with the concept.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Fantasy arson investigation.
I think that could work. Why are they investigating it?
Because they are a party of private investigators, and several of the key NPCs were like their close friends, and one of them was killed during the arson, and that key NPC is like a very good friend with several of the PCs going on right now.
So is this like a closer to home plot than they've had in before in terms of like emotional ties?
Most certainly. This location's been like there since the very beginning of the campaign. This NPC has been like a very close NPC to several PCs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any really big villains yet? Like the players hate them in a way where it makes them mad?
Oh yes, I've had several. I had one time where they were conversing with a villain and a player had to take a timeout because they were like, I actually need to cool off from talking.
Okay. Because what I was going to say is, if this is the first time that they are encountering something that is bad that's happened that's like close to them, you could use that to take sort of like a retrospective lens on the campaign so far. And it could be like part of that investigation could be traveling back through the people around the library that they have already seen in past adventures and like investigating them, but or also seeing how they may have been affected also, you know, but having it sort of like if it's about home, make it about home, you know.
No, I like that a lot. And I mean, yeah, I was sort of planning on having that sort of come up in a way. One of the driving points would have been like very in the opening was the fact that the players go to the murdered NPC's wife, and they would have like a major conversation about things. Like that was just like a plot point I was going to have set up because the players both know the NPC and their wife because both of them were tied together very closely.
Yeah, so I would instead of making that a thing that happens on the side, I would make the investigation take them through their past.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really cool. That's really cool.
There's actually, funnily enough, I have in my like Google Doc of bizarre bullshit ideas that every DM has that like are all just bulletins of the most random shit ever. I have in here magical item that allows them to visit places of memory in their past, and I might reuse that, or I might bring that up and develop it a bit more for this session.
Cool. What was your other question?
So this one's a little bit more social, but right now I'm navigating a bit of an issue where I believe in my sort of play group, there are two DMs at the moment. There's me and one other person. And this other person of mine, he's a very close friend. I've known him since before the pandemic. And recently there's been some tension between us because he's also GMing, and he's only started GMing within the last year or two, I think. And when he GMs very sparsely. But recently, I've caught wind from other friends on our network that he's been not really in my game.
You just cut out whatever word you just said seemed important, and I didn't hear it.
You're good. I saw the red on my voice connection go down too for a hot second.
So start that sentence over.
So I've learned through the grapevine of my friend group that recently I think he hasn't been enjoying my sessions very much. And I'm very communicative with my players. I usually send out a little survey every couple of months, basically just sort of catching the vibe. And I DM'd him and I was like, hey, how have you been feeling? Have you been feeling good? How's your character? Is there anything I can do to like make playing your character recently more fun? Anything like that? And he was like, oh no, all's good. And now I'm in this weird dilemma where I'm like, I think there's this like underlining tension that we have, and I've asked him directly, I'm like, hey, is everything good? he said everything's fine, but I'm hearing from other people I trust that he's also like venting to them about his frustrations with GMing and how he might feel a little bit bad that my games happen more often too.
Wait, I'm confused. Is the issue that he has issues with you when you are a player in his game, or he has issues with you when he is a player in your game, or is the issue that he is like comparing himself to you as a dungeon master?
I think it's the comparing himself to me. I think that's what it is.
That's at least a little speculative because nobody has said that
It is
out
very
loud.
speculative.
That's the vibe you're getting. Yeah.
No, it is. You're very right on that.
It's a hard situation because the thing is,
it is.
You can't solve a problem that somebody isn't willing to acknowledge. Like if he is like if he's, I mean, the solution would be to tell your friends that he's venting to be like, yo, fucking talk to him or shut the fuck up.
Makes sense.
That's, I don't know if that's a good table solution, but like if I was, but this isn't really a table problem. That is the solution. The solution, because if he's refusing to talk to you about it, that's you trying. You're putting you're putting out the what does your planet use for peace? You don't use bones. You use a plant. What kind was it? Olive branch. You're putting out the olive branch.
Olive branch.
So you threw the olive branch out. You opened the table. Listen. Whether you're a dungeon master or a player or a friend, at a certain point, all you can do is say, I'm here, like, what's up? And if they're refusing to engage with that, then that is the choice they're making, which means that they are deciding to accept whatever they aren't willing to deal with, which means that they need to either shut the fuck up about it and accept it, or take the opportunity that you gave them and deal with it. Because it's got to be one of the two. So I would just tell your friends that you heard it through the grapevine, but be like, hey, could you tell him to shut the fuck up or talk to me, because this is fucking childish.
That makes a lot of sense. That's very, that hits home.
And the other thing is that this could be an opportunity for growth. Like, I could very easily see this turning into a situation where you help him get better at being a dungeon master. Straight up. Like, this could very easily be a thing where it's like, if he's frustrated because he's jealous of what you're able to do, you're not amazing. You're just a guy that's probably been doing it longer. You know what I mean? Like none of the things that we do here are special. They are special. They're all special, but none of them are like, it's just in us. You know, everybody sucks. Everybody sucks until they're okay, and then they get pretty good eventually.
No, you're right.
And, you know, then it could turn into a thing where it's like, hey, like, you know, let's, you know, maybe you two sit down and you do some planning together. You know, like if you both have campaigns coming, like, hey, we both have sessions coming up. Let's plan them together. You know?
I maybe wouldn't push on that front. You know your relationship better than I do, but if I was in your situation, given just what I've heard now, I would maybe not.
No, I was going. That was hyper optimistic version.
That's after you've had the conversation of like, what's with the conflicting reports, what's going on, and they.
I want this. I want the vibes to be as bad as possible.
100%. Because otherwise, the worst thing that you could possibly do is he's got some floating beef, and you're like, I see that you're jealous. Let me help you. Right, like that's the worst possible thing that you can do in this situation.
Because again, a lot of this is very speculative, and I'm just it's hard for me to
open up.
Yeah. No, well, thank you very much for that. I'll definitely shoot him a DM later tonight and be like, hey, I'm not mad, but I've heard through the grapevine that you're talking about not really enjoying my stuff, and I've talked to you directly about it, and you've said everything's fine. Like, I'm not mad. I just want to figure out what's going on here, so that we can like address it and move on, type thing. Makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
And that's all you can do. You got to push the boat out into the water, and that's all you can do. You can't want a healthy relationship with someone more than they want it with you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great questions. Thanks for them, and good luck to you out there, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Sorry, people are talking shit. That's the worst.
No, it's fine.
It's fine, but it's also the worst.
Hopefully it'll hopefully it'll go away. Hopefully you'll be able to.
Hopefully, I'll run in his DMs and we'll figure out what's going on, one way or another.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's heavy, man. That sucks so much.
Yeah. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing.
Friends, don't do that shit to your friends. You know, like, just be honest with people. You know, man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I want to run a campaign set in the Underdark.
Yeah.
But it would be the
Thank
first
you.
campaign.
Let's get back to what matters.
What were you gonna say? Were you gonna just?
I was gonna say, does Chad have anything to say about the Underdark?
Oh, I like it down here, I think. What was the question? I want to DM a game set in the Underdark. Yeah, man, that's all I do is play. It would be the first campaign I've ever run, and I don't know how to begin making one. I think the question to ask yourself is, why do you want to run a campaign in the Underdark? What's exciting to you about that setting? And then to build a story around that. So, like, if you're like, oh, I really like the Drow and Lilith and Lolth and the Spider Drider people, you know, do some learning about those things. Or if you are already learning about those things because you like the Underdark, you know, pick a part of the Underdark that you're really excited by. There is a campaign book called Out of the Abyss, which is it's kind of a hard campaign book to do if it's your first campaign. Not because it's a hard campaign to run, but because it starts it opens with a lot. There's like the beginning of the campaign is here's 7 really interesting NPCs. But how do you make a campaign? That's a big question, man. I mean, what do you mean? I can answer it, but that's a very big question. How do you make a campaign is what kind of story do you want to tell? You know? Mm-hmm. I would say that when you're building a campaign, you kind of want to start with 2 things at the same time. One is what's the larger story or vibe you want to tell for your story, or what you want it to be. Do you want like a open world where everyone's going in random directions and the plot's sort of built? Do you want it to be more focused, like they're solving a mystery? Do you want it to be like an Oregon Trail where they have to get from one place to another? Do you want it to be like there's a dragon attack? Like, what's the plot? That's the first. That's a big thing. And then the other thing, which is just as important, is what's the first plot? Because the plot shouldn't be the first plot. The plot should be, this is the campaign. But the beginning of the campaign should be, what's a problem that they can solve in 3 sessions that will teach them a little bit about the world and get them to level 2 or level 3. But that would be it. And but that's not Underdark specific. That's anything. So that's why I was saying, like, pick parts of the Underdark that you're excited by. You know, if you like the Myconids, make a Myconid campaign. What's the best D&D? Exactly, yeah. It's a big question. It's a big question.
The best D&D is the one you make along the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's a hard question. How do you make a campaign? Go to Reddit and look at D&D behind the screen and just read all the articles.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know that I could answer that question.
I think I answered it about as well as I could.
Yeah, my answer would probably be something very similar. It might even be a little bit thinner than that. But I just like, if somebody was like, "Hey, make a campaign for like an adventure book," I'd be like, "I don't know, man. I don't know how to do that."
I also think that a thing that you could do is there's plenty of campaign modules that exist, but there's also campaign setting books. There's not a lot of D&D 5e campaign setting books, but there's few like Ravenloft and things like that, where it isn't giving you a campaign, but it is giving you literally everything you need to build a campaign. So if you want to run a monster, sort of like a old black and white horror movie campaign, or like an Eldritch horror campaign, or a zombie campaign, the Ravenloft book will give you special items and monsters and locations and plot ideas and stuff. So you could look at. I like those books more than I like the modules personally, because I think they just feel like they're tool books.
Yeah, I like the toolbox, the toy chest books that you can get, as opposed to the here's the plot, go do it books.
Yeah.
Some adventures are better at this than others, but I'm a very big fan. And also, there are quintillions of third-party 5e supplements, setting books that exist out in the world. Some of them are incredible. We're working on one that we're hoping will be incredible, but some of them are already incredible.
Ours might be credible, at least. We'll see. Yeah, incredible, who's to say?
As long as it's not just cred, you know?
Yeah. Shalakor brings up a really good point, which is, I think, something else. All you need to start a campaign is CR appropriate enemies and NPCs of a vibe you like, and a room to meet them in. That is actually true. You don't need much more than that. You need to be able to build off of that, but you could. That is it. When you boil it down, you need NPCs to engage with, and a conflict to engage with, and a room.
I mean, really, we start rally.
That's pretty much it.
We start rally with, you all live in a logging town. You have to get the logging done in order to survive. It's your job. You need to get paid. The millstone is broken. You can't mill the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Fix it. That was the first, 4 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Fix it. You don't need a lot. We got nominated for, an LA WebFest award. You don't need a lot.
This is true. We got nominated for 2 LA WebFest awards.
Yeah, we did.
We're badass.
We'll be badass when we win. They'll like us when we win, I promise.
We'll see. I don't need them to like us.
Right.
Let's pull in Tiny Anvil Haver.
Tiny.
That's a great name. Hello, Tiny.
Your name, Tiny Anvil.
Hello, can you hear me well?
I can hear you so well. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello.
What can we do for you today?
This is actually my second call, so I'm a little excited. Sorry.
It's
I was
all right.
closing the thing.
Good.
Got confused. So I am autistic, and I really love golems, and I want to make a character about golems,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how to do that. The only thing that I can think of is Battlesmith Artificer,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really like Artificer. I like the vibe, I don't like the mechanics.
Question of clarification. Do you want to be a
Okay.
golem, or do you want to have a golem?
I am perfectly fine with either option.
Okay, I have ideas for both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
First of all, a Warforged is a golem. It doesn't need to sleep, it doesn't need to eat, it doesn't need to breathe. It's a little bit tougher. It is made of physical, non-organic objects. So if you pick Warforged as the thing, as your D&D race, that's going to cover 90% of what you need, and then the rest of that is going to come from whatever classes you want to go into. If you like the idea of being a golem that's very martial, I think fighter could work really well, or barbarian could work really well if you like the idea of being like a siege type monster. And I would think about, I would play around with that with the way that you wanted to represent them. So for example, a barbarian, a beast barbarian, which is also my favorite subclass in D&D, you could reflavor the beast barbarian's claws and tail and teeth as literally you just little spikes or whatever coming out of your fists. Your body is made of whatever material golem you want it to be made of. It can change for you, or you could be like a rune knight. And whenever you activate your rune knight powers, if you're activating the powers where it's your once a day, weird hit powers, that could be maybe you have runes literally carved into the clay of your golemness or something. And when you expand, it could be your body truncates out, So I would go in either of those two directions. If you wanted to make a golem, I think the easiest solution would be to pick one of the subclasses that comes with a pet and reflavor that pet as a golem. So either the Artificer Battlesmith, or the Drake Warden, or the Ranger Beastmaster. But if you do Ranger Beastmaster, make sure you use the current Tasha's Cauldron update, because it's very good. And it also doesn't give you a pet animal. It gives you a stat block, or a bunch of stat blocks to pick between, and that could be ways that you sort of flavored your golem that you had. The big land one could be a big burly golem, or the flying one could be a weird little glass and wire golem or something.
Yeah, okay. In Wild Beyond the Wishlight, they do have stained glass golems, and I really like those.
fucking cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so you could. I mean, there's no reason you couldn't just be one. You know, being a like you don't need to be brittle because you're made of glass. You're a golem. You are magically enchanted into life. You're not normal glass. So you could be a warforged, or you could look at something like. I mean, you could get really weird with it. You could look at an Azamar. You're going to have to do all the normal flesh things that you would need to do, but you're resistant to some damage types that kind of feel like they would deal with how light reflects. And Azamar once a day can do that thing where they, like, explode with light and, like, have a super mode. And that could be, like, you doing, like, you know, if you're stained glass, like, light shining out of you and all these colors and stuff. So all sorts of... You can get really weird with it. But for me, because also, you and I are similar in that I also love golems and golem-type characters, which is why in Rally, in Unbalanced Encounters, I play a Warforged, and I literally, in the campaign I'm playing in for Rally, I am a giant ceramic golem. And genuinely, all I needed to feel like that was I don't need to breathe, I don't need to eat, and I don't need to sleep. That does so much. It's not a mechanically powerful feature, but the roleplay in that is weirdly powerful, especially if you bring it up sometimes, where it's just like, whenever rations come up, you're just like, I'm good. And everyone's tired, you're like, I'll keep watch for about 8 more hours, I'm fine. Or like, when people get tired, you sort of like question it. It's like, what do you mean? Like, how does that... When you do this with your arm too much, it stops doing that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the roleplay of I Am Machine.
Yeah.
Cinder, we have a chat question that dovetails off of this, which is worth maybe a couple of words at least. I think with golems being a part of Jewish mythology, does that mean you need to be careful with them?
I think that I'll speak as a Jewish. I would say no. If I can speak for the Jewish people, I would say I don't think so. That being said, if you did want to be careful with it, the thing that you would just have to make sure that you were doing was, you know, not turning it into something anti-Semitic. But golems exist in a very specific aspect of Jewish folklore, which is essentially a folktale. It's not tied to anything of any religious import by anybody of any level of religious belief, except for like the most extreme extremists. It's the golem is closer to the Easter Bunny than it is to like Jesus or Muhammad or something. Like it's not like a that's how I feel about it anyway. I think it's fine. Everybody knows it's folklore, and even then it was just like the story of the golem also is not like a happy story. It's like we built a monster and it protected us, but also it was too scary and dangerous, so we had to kill it. That's the story of the golem. So it's not... No. I think it's fine. Whenever anybody has a hard time with that, I feel like it's pretty silly. So I think it's fine.
Oh, I just kind of relate to golems, because they're literal. If you tell them to do something, they're going to do it to the letter. I'm like that. So it's like the Spider-Man pointing at itself meme. It's like, I'm a golem.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I don't think that's anything to worry about. I would say go be Warforged, and then pick your class based on whatever expression of golem you want to be. If you want to be big and punchy, be Martial. If you want to be a quick, nimble golem, look at Ranger or Rogue or Monk. That sort of thing.
If you're gonna go the stained glass route, you don't need to do this, but like read the Circle of Stars Druid. Because that would be such a
that would work really well for that.
Circle of Stars.
With the stained glass.
Yeah. That's a good idea. That's a cool idea.
What if it like changed what my mosaic depicts?
Yeah. Instead of it glowing above your head, the U chain. Yes, and that's fucking cool, dude. Excuse me. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. All right, you got a bunch of ideas. I think all of them are awesome. I want to play all of them.
Really good.
I hope one of them helps.
This is very...
Oh, helpful. Yeah, also, Gemjar pointed out, if you did want to go Druid, you could also reflavor your wild shape. It's not you turning into animals, but you reshaping the stained glass to form different animals, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's really nice.
Cool. All right, buddy. Thank you so much for the call. Great question.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
You too. See ya.
Bye.
I I love golems too. I almost got a tattoo of a golem once.
That sounds intense. Why didn't you?
Because I couldn't find a picture that depicted it in a way that I liked. But because I'm a big, it's the only Jewish folklore monster that's cool. All the other ones are like either not particularly Jewish, or they're like scary, or they're sort of amorphous.
You should commission somebody to do some art for you that you get a tattoo of.
Yeah, maybe one day.
I think that's a good idea. I think that would be great.
What about the Ziz? I don't know what the Ziz is, so maybe the Ziz is cool. The Ziz might be really cool. I don't know. Anyway, let's give a round of applause. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you, Gary the DM. I appreciate. Let's hold ourselves to higher standards of appreciation.
I forgot there was a Pokemon just called Golem.
There's a Pokemon called Golem?
Yeah, it's the final form of Geodude.
Huh. How many arms does it have?
Geodude, Graveler, 2.
Lame.
A little bit.
What's up, Joey? Guys, if you just got here, we're doing a call-in show. People, if you want to, you can ask questions in the chat. I'm here with Patrick. We're going to go for a little bit longer. It's not going to be a super long stream today, but we are still here for at least a little while longer. So ask questions in the chat, or hop into the waiting room in the Discord if you want. Yeah, but the behemoth. The behemoth, the leviathan. I didn't remember the name of this is. So those are like big ancient super creatures. But that's what I mean. It's like they're kind of like forces of nature. They're not like a monster that you're gonna find in the woods. Stuff. You know, you're not gonna. They're not a monster in the way that like a vampire is a monster. They're like they're each like their own Tarrasque, you know? The Tarrasque is cool, but you're not using it in a campaign that much.
Not that much, anyway. No. Not if you want the campaign to last long.
In the campaign I'm running right now for my home game, the party is level 8 or 9, and I just introduced a Tarrasque. It's the first time I've used a Tarrasque in game, and they didn't really pay it much mind, and they should have.
No, oh god, if you're listening, you fucked up.
In the campaign I'm running, the players are... Okay, in the briefest of nutshell, for the past several sessions, they have been stuck in an SCP-style laboratory that is in a hollowed-out mountain, and they went to the basement of it because they got so sick of going through the hallways and dealing with anomalies that they literally had just went down the fire escape to the very bottom. But they didn't realize that this is a hollowed-out mountain, and the fire escape, they should have been going up. Because what is going down going to get you to? You're in the middle of the bottom of a mountain. So, in the bottom of it, there's a Tarrasque that is like under sedation. And they decided not to mess with it. But they did decide to mess with was the safety. What is it called? Like the emergency energy of the place also. So those things are going to be correlated. Power. Yeah.
Oh no.
It's okay. It's at the bottom of the mountain. I do think at some point it is going to explode out of the mountain, which will be cool. But you know, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
That's very good. Not tomorrow. That's tomorrow's Cinder's party's problem.
Yeah. Hey Cinder, how do I keep the volume down in our sessions? We have a lot of players and are in the library. That is genuinely hard. That's not that is a social question, not a D&D question.
I don't even know.
So I can't answer it from a D&D perspective.
It might just be a physics question.
Well, it comes to that's true. How many people? Can you hear everyone when they're talking at a low volume, or is the table so big that you aren't able to do it? Don't laugh at the library. Lots of D&D is D&D is played at many libraries across America, and it is a wonderful thing.
My first experience DMing games was singularly in libraries, and the library actually let us take like conference rooms that they had to play D&D so that we could be slightly louder than you would want to be in the book section. I don't know if you're talking about like a school library that maybe doesn't have something like that, but you could ask if they've got a room you can use.
Well, here's what I would say. Depending on how many players you have, assuming that it's not more than 5, I think it just comes down to people needing to get good at being quiet. If you have 6, 7, 8 players, you might need to think about splitting it into 2 separate games that are happening at the same time, just because unless everyone is like passing around the talking stick, it is going to get loud.
I will also say that this is such a shit answer to your question, and I acknowledge that it's a shit answer to your question, but you might want to consider somewhere else to play if you can, in literally any capacity. I know that there aren't a lot of options for public third places where everybody can safely meet that don't cost money.
This is what I'll say. If you're playing in a school, see if there's a classroom that you can use.
That kind of thing would go a long way, because there's so much to D&D that is being able to laugh out loud, elevate your emotions, right? Like, the things that stick in your brain are the way that the game made you feel. And if you're having to constantly subdue those feelings for the politeness of the people around you, it's going to really pull the rug out of your play.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that you're rock in a hard place, but if you can do anything, give it a shot.
And if you're playing in a public library, if it's possible, maybe play, if there's an outdoor space that's connected to the library or a park nearby that's also just an outdoor space you can use, you can be really loud outside.
All the time.
You can be really loud outside.
Yeah.
You once played in an empty church? That's cool. I don't know if I've ever played in any really cool places. Mostly just people's houses.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
When I used to work for WeWork, we played in a conference. I'd play in conference rooms all the time. It was a weird time of my life in the flesh vessel.
I played in a conference room once. I ran a game for some friends and coworkers in a conference room of a venture capital firm.
Yeah. Party Nation.
It was the boardroom. It was the boardroom. We had it was the long 30-person table. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Patrick. A dust memphit died next to... Oh, Joey, you're writing such a long message. I have a PC who entered the campaign, has worn... Throughout the entire campaign has worn goggles. Their art has goggles. Jokes have been made in character about said goggles. A dust memphit died next to them, and it was argued they shouldn't have to roll blind save since they were goggles. I almost always lean yes unless...
The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. The only time I would say that wouldn't be true is if A, the goggles were blackout or something, some reason why they wouldn't constantly be wearing them, and then they'd have to if they were welding goggles, you can't just wear those all the time because you wouldn't be able to see, so they'd have to be up over their heads. Then you could be burn your reaction and you could put them on, right? Or no, you can't have them on without saying that you have them on. But man, unless it's that niche of a thing, hell yeah, let them have the goggles. That's great payoff.
The other thing is that if you don't want them to have the goggles, because I will play devil's advocate here for a second with you, Patrick.
Go ahead.
What is blinding them from the dust of the dust memphit? Is it the fact that their eyes have dust in them, or is it the fact that dust is covering their vision? Because dust can cover eyes, but it can also cover goggle lenses.
That's true. It's a little easier maybe to wipe off, but in general...
That's probably what I would do. I would probably make it be you are blinded too, but because it's not in your eyes, you could either pull the goggles off or wipe them off on your turn to start to be able to see again.
I think that's a completely reasonable mechanical interpretation of those events, but I do want to push back from a GM perspective just a hair, because I think it's interesting. We get so many people in this chat and everywhere else asking us, how do I get my players to take their characters seriously? How do I get my players to inject detail into the world? How do I get my players to role play, right? It starts here. Reward them when they do.
Yeah, let the player who was very specific about goggles and making that a part of his character get something cool in-game for them. Yeah. That's actually... No, you're right. I was thinking about it like a robot. I should have been thinking about it like a dungeon master.
I mean, it's just don't get me wrong. There's a rules interpretation that I think is fair, and if the stakes are really high, sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want that extra couple seconds of blind. You're going to reward them, but you're going to pull the reward a little bit. But I'd say all things being equal, reward your players when they do cool shit, because that's what's going to get them to do more cool shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's pull in somebody else.
That's a good question. What a weird question. That's a good question.
I like that question. It was good. Dr. Space Cape. Let's get Dr. Space Cape in here. How do you feel about doctors, Patrick? I'm pretty anti-doctors.
I've never had a lot of pleasant...
Have you ever heard anybody that's anti... That's a very funny thing to be anti. Can you imagine being anti-doctor? So silly. Dr. Space Cape, you gotta unmute, but you're here. Dr. Space Cape. Hello? Your microphone does not seem to be
water
working. Dr. Spacecape, exit out of the Discord and then open it back up again. Usually that's what it needs to do.
Probably.
I don't know why this just happens sometimes. Come back in and I'll pull you back in. How do I make a fellow player's roleplay? I'm like the only one that does. Start asking them about what their characters want and what their characters feel.
Also, if you address them in character, that can help a little bit. Don't expect them to behave in any type of way as a response, but addressing them in character can kind of subtly prompt. So.
But I think the best way to get people into role-playing, if they really don't role-play, is to start with getting them doing the first thing that you need to do when you role-play, which is thinking about what your character feels.
Yes.
Just like asking what their character feels. Dr. Spacecape, you come back in. Why did you leave again? Come back. I was about to pull you in. Get back here. Dr. Spacecape.
He may have needed, to have stepped off.
I'm gonna give him like 4 more seconds to see if he can get back on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the role playing, it's really just like it's sort of like you got to show them that's fun. And the other thing is that some players never really role play. Also, some players like to role play, but just talking about it. They don't actually want to talk in funny voices. They just want to describe what their character does. And I think that's also reasonable. You know, you want to make sure you're being understanding of not just like the way the game. There's not a way the game should be played. So you want to be, just thinking about that. All right, he's not back. Well, let's grab the next guy. We're gonna grab Gary.
Grab the next guy.
What's up, Gary?
Gary, I love your profile picture. That goes pretty hard.
Gary, you gotta unmute, buddy.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Really good.
Welcome to the show. What can we do for you today?
So I have 4 questions.
Okay. We'll see if we can get to all of them. Oh, I can't hear you. Your microphone cut out for a second.
So I'm just gonna give you my biggest one right now.
Sure.
I'm running a campaign where there's gonna be villains that are level 20, like all the classes that are level 20. I just don't know how to run that. It's just difficult for me.
So here's what I would say. Player classes, like a barbarian, even the simplest class, like a barbarian, they have a lot of different things to keep track of at level 20. And a spellcaster or a druid or any of that stuff, it's like a lot. So what I would do is instead of building them exactly the same way you would build a level 20 character, I would pick the parts of that class that you think do the best job of making that thing feel cool, and I would make a monster stat block for them that would have those elements. So like, for example, I'm just going to stick to barbarian. Instead of having them be a level 20 barbarian, give them a monster stat block, and maybe you could even use a monster stat block that already exists that kind of feels like them, like something really strong, but give them the rage feature, give them reckless attack, give them brutal critical. If you're doing it with a warlock, make sure they have the craziest eldritch blast. Give them, they've got crazy eldritch. They have an eldritch blast. They're doing like the arms of Hadar, like the grossest spell. But they don't need to have six different eldritch invocations, and they don't need to have a million different things like that. Just like pick the ones that you think are gonna work the best for making that scene feel cool. Like your fighter doesn't need to have Indomitable and Second Wind, and like it's gonna be too much, and it's gonna make it so it's gonna overwhelm. Like they would overwhelm me quite a bit. So, and I think it'll simplify not just running it, but also it'll help you focus how to use these villains in and out of combat, because you can sort of be like, okay, if I want to introduce these guys, what's the best of these? Which of these monster stats has the best tools for that first RP encounter? You know. So that's what I would say. Simplify their build, and I think you'll be good.
Awesome. So there's also my party just consists of all fighting characters. Like there's no backline characters or support.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering, what do I do about that? Do I like throw more enemies at them?
I don't know if you need to throw more enemies at them. Do you have, because in D&D the backline is often the strongest. It's less about. Do you have any spellcasters, or are they all martial characters? Are they all like fighters and barbarians and rogues and stuff?
They're all fighters, barbarians, and stuff. Yeah, that.
Cool. So, no, that's amazing. That means you have so much freedom to throw weird monsters at them. The main thing you have to think about is range and how far away things can be from them. Because whenever you can make something far away from them, if they're all melee characters, that's going to be hard for them to deal with. So what I would do if I were you is, because you know that they're all melee characters and stuff, make sure your world has more opportunities for them to gain healing, whether that's magic shop selling magic potions, or that's maybe you include in your game the ability for them to scavenge for herbs to like build healing balms, or maybe you give them more short rests. But that's going to be something to keep in mind. But I genuinely think that the bigger issue is range, and that whenever they are coming up against spellcasters, outside of their saving throws, they're not going to have any innate ways to fight back. So maybe at some point one of them finds a ring of counterspell or something like that to like sort of balance that. Or some of them start getting access to some magical ranged weapons too, or magical ways of traveling very quickly, like teleporting or stuff like that.
So something also funny about that is that they have kind of guns. They have access to guns. It's just they haven't bought one yet because it's really expensive.
Yeah. Well, when they get closer to having enough money for one, you should throw an encounter in that reminds them that it's going to be good to have a ranged weapon. You know, have them have to deal with like a guy that's hiding in the trees or something like that, where they have to like get to him and figure out where he is in order for him to stop shooting arrows at them.
So now I go to my third question.
Yeah, sure.
So there's different factions in my game. So there's gonna be, there's the mech one. There's the kind of necromancer, wild magic guys, and there's gonna be a dreamland faction, like just a normal kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe that the mech land, the thing about my villain level 20, I thought of maybe making a little group of alliances. There's gonna be the monk, there's gonna be an artificer, and I totally forgot about the third one.
Are these gonna be NPCs or are these gonna be player characters?
NPCs. The third one's a bard.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted them to control, like the bard goes to kind of seduce the king, so that they're controlling behind everyone's back.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, after a point, it's gonna get invaded by flying mech ships.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff. So I want them to like kind of kill everything.
Sure. So what's the question? What's the question?
So I just don't know how to run different faction, because the wild magic one is against the mech one for a reason.
Well, I think you have to think about two things, I think. One is, what is the culture of each faction? And then once you have a sense of what the culture of each faction is, you kind of build them to fit that culture. So if the mech faction, you know, above all else prizes like knowledge and ingenuity and craftiness, what kind of people would be a part of that faction? What kind of people would they seek after to be a part of that faction? And what kind of things would they do with their time? What would they prioritize? And then do that with all of the factions to kind of figure out like just how they feel different. And then in terms of introducing them, start building encounters where they are going to come up that involves aspects of them that you're excited by, that you think are interesting, or that will give the players opportunities to decide how they feel about them, or engage with them in any number of ways, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say. Building factions is more... I think building factions is largely building a culture, because at the end of the day, a faction is essentially a fancy version of a club, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Did you want to ask something else?
So for my final question, I wanted to make some sort of it's a creature that was like intended to be a thing I would call the Loblin, just a goblin, but it's like a tiny creature and stuff.
Okay.
But my players decided they would turn it into Furbies.
Yeah, and do you like that or not like that?
I kind of like it, but it's kind of difficult to think that my campaign, like, it's in like a current little moment in time where they're helping a guy that speaks for the Furbies, kind of the Lorax.
Amazing.
Help, and he's just made out of Furbies, and they're in a Mad Max wasteland, and I just.
This is a good idea.
It's hard.
What is? I see no problem here. I want to encourage this as much as I can. This is an amazing idea, but I don't see what the issue is. So far, all you've done is tell me an amazing idea. But I'm here to help, regardless of what the question is.
It's hard. It's because I don't know if I should make some sort of villain, like one of the level 20 just got stranded in this desert. So he just he's against the Furby because he thinks he has some sort of way to access back to the original realm. So they're like kind of in a realm called the King's Realm, which used to be gold and stuff, but now they went into a pocket dimension for like, I don't know, let's say 5 minutes. They come out, everything's a wasteland, just destroyed.
That sounds cool. That sounds hectic. Are you asking if you feel like that's a good idea, or are you asking like you're not sure how to make that feel fun? What's your question?
I'm not sure how to make it fun. It's just...
Well, I think... I wish I had a more specific answer for you, but I really think it comes down to think about what you think is exciting about that and what sort of stories you want to tell with that and how you want to present that, and trust your instincts. Like, if you like this idea, it sounds like your players are really into... Let me ask you this. It sounds like your players really are into the Furbies, yes?
Yes. It's just 2 people, so...
Okay, so what I would probably do is lean into that and create opportunities for this to be a situation of your players helping the Furbies is what I would do. I would be like, how I would make this Furby Lorax a cool NPC, and I would maybe have this thing that happens with this level 20 NPC go in a direction where this is one of the players like first brushes with something of real power that's like scary and a bad guy, and they have to figure out how to solve the problem without fighting it head on because they won't win. I think that would be fun, but that's just me. But that's where my head goes. But the whole idea sounds very fun. I love the idea of a weird post-apocalypse with like these twisted Furby things running around. That's great.
Well, thank you very much for answering my question.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Have a good night or day or whatever time it is. Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's give them a little round of applause.
Round of applause.
For
Cinder,
Gary.
first of all,
Yes.
That's probably going to be my last call. I don't
That's
know if
fine.
I'm hanging on for a little while longer. But I also wanted to say, it's very cool that people can come and ask you questions and get some help. And I don't want to make assumptions, but I got the feeling that Gary was probably a little younger than I am, and probably a little newer to this than I am. And I'm just thinking back to those times when I was starting to figure out how to DM myself, and I was running my first campaign and what's going to be fun, and how do I do these big ambitious things that I've got rattling around in my head. It's wild that you could log on to the internet and be like, hey, professional DM man, help me.
Well, listen, if it makes you feel any better, I'm not a professional.
Well, okay. But I think we both know what I'm trying to
Yeah. Very kind. All right, buddy.
It's cool.
I don't know how much longer we're gonna go. I told people we're doing a shorter stream tonight, so I'll go for a little. I might do a little bit more, but we're gonna be wrapping soon.
Okay.
But all right, buddy. Have a good one.
Heading out.
Have a
Take
good
it
night.
easy, chat.
Are we
You've
doing
been
any? Are we
lovely as
doing
always.
anything this weekend? Are we recording this weekend?
You have.
I have kids of rally.
The Kids on Bikes game.
Kids on Bikes.
The session 0 on Saturday and the first session on
So
Sunday.
I'm doing stuff this weekend.
But I'm not.
Yeah, cool.
So
cool.
actually,
All right.
that's not true. I'm recording shit for.
No, we are doing stuff. We're not doing rally. Okay, bye. Forgot I was doing that. I didn't forget I was doing that, but I forgot that I was doing it this weekend. I'm glad I asked that question. Hey, Cinder. I was thinking of having some kind of racial feat for lizard folk, where they can use an action for a minute they regain some hit points at the start of each of their turns. I don't know. I'm going to be honest, Gilded Prism. I don't know if you need that on a lizard folk. Lizard folk already have an innate way to heal with that bite. I would just give them more uses of that bite. I mean, if in your game you feel like it's a cool idea, but I feel like that's a lot of healing, maybe it's fine. If it works for the fiction of your game, go for it. I don't understand why it's a lizard person racial feat, is what I guess. Is what I'm saying. Because the bite is basically what does that already. Except you have to bite people. I think the bite, I don't know if the bite heals or just temporary hit points. It is one of the two. I forget which. Okay, what's your gripe about druids? I think it hurts roleplay. Interesting builds for druids due to wild shape. No talking and negation of racial trait. What? Joey, you didn't ask a question in a logical way. I don't understand your sentence. You said, hey, Cinder, I'd love if you would put your 2 cents into a gripe I have about druid. I understood that sentence. Now comes the sentence I didn't understand. I think it hurts roleplay. Do you think the druid hurts roleplay? I don't understand, because then you say a phrase after that seems disconnected. Interesting builds for druids due to wild shape. It's no talking and negation of racial traits, but that's not what... But first of all, that's not what wild shape doesn't do that. You can't talk when you don't have wild shape, but you can do everything else. You keep all of your other features. If you have all of your racial features, I'm pretty sure they go over in wild shape. So I don't really understand what your question is. I think it's fine. I wish I understood what your question was. The wild shape traits negate your physical traits. I thought you kept your racial features. I'm going to check right now because I am not sure you're right. And I appreciate that you might be right. And I'm very curious to see. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know. And I want to check. Because my opinion on it is I would not have it negate your racial traits. And I've never actually had it negate your racial traits. You retain all your skills, saving throws. Let's see here. You can't cast spells. Where would it say it? Chat, help me find it. I'm 99% sure you keep them. This is the cheat code. I'm just hitting the word trait. Oh, trait only came up once? That's not true. Cheat code didn't work. Look at dark vision. You retain the benefits of any features from your class, race, or other sources. So yeah, you keep your racial traits. So yeah, class, race, right here. Right here. Keep everything. So I think it's fine. I think not being able to talk is totally reasonable because you don't have human vocal cords. But if you have any class or racial features that give you telepathy, you could still talk. Yeah, so I think you were just off there. That's okay. Some birds can talk. How would I make a PC or an NPC weigh less than 10 pounds? I don't know if that's possible without requiring you to work with your dungeon master on some serious homebrewing. I don't think there's a... you could definitely do it if you're comfortable with it not having a if you're comfortable with it not having any mechanical implications, be a halfling. Just be little. Or a fairy. Either of those would probably be fine. But if you want it to have mechanical implications, I think you need to figure out how that would hinder you, because it certainly would, and how it would help you, because it might, but it probably would hinder you a lot more than it would help you. You can't be mid-transition in a wild shape. Your wild shape is an animal form or a regular form. There is no in-between. It's a bonus action or an action to activate it. There isn't any space in the middle of that action. But you could talk before you take the action to wild shape, and then you talked. If you have 2 players and others asked to join and did not show up to play, then I would reach out to them and say, hey, I would love for you to be in the game, but if you feel like if you're not gonna be able to show up, I'm not gonna run it for you. Like, this is work. It's like I put time into this, and I want to have fun with you. But if you're not gonna be able to make it, you gotta at least let me know. So you lose dark vision, but you keep all the cool stuff. I think it's fine. I see no problem with the way Wild Shape works from a roleplay perspective. I think it works fine. The more important thing for me would be, if I'm a plasmoid druid, I want to be able to be all squiggly in a plasmoid when I'm a bear. I don't really care if I had dark vision as a plasmoid and I lose it as a bear. I think that's much more... I'm totally fine with that. It also would make sense because... It prevents some shenanigans with wild shaping into, like, flying things. I think that could potentially be trouble. I would let a dragonborn... I would, and I have let druid dragonborns breathe fire when they're a crocodile and other such things. I think it's totally fine. If you were taught that wasn't fine, I would say, tell your teachers, you taught me much, but it is time for me to fly my own flag and not listen to them anymore. Yeah, thank you for being patient with me, because I didn't understand at first what the question was. I had to work through it like 3 times. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. I just realized I sort of answered the wrong question like twice before I answered the right question. I wild shape and had my guy right in the dirt before. Yeah, that's a good move too. Yeah. I have seen people... I haven't done this, but I played in a campaign where there was a druid that always wore... He was mute all the time, and he wore a whiteboard on his chest, and he would, like, write stuff. But it meant that when he was an animal, he could communicate just as easily, which was pretty cool. It was a fun character. Alright, let's grab Gemjar. Hey, Gemjar. What's up, buddy?
One second, I'm just muting the stream.
No problem.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
What can I do for you today, buddy?
I have a question which is totally not at all related to the rant I had in the Discord the other day.
Cool.
Just well, actually, it's kind of not, because we all do it. But just as a DM and as someone who plays D&D with DMs, which is like, okay, anyway, What? Okay. What? Do you have any advice for people who basically fuck up as a DM, but specifically in a narrative way? Like you have a plot point which you're kind of you play out, and it doesn't land in the way that you think it's gonna land, and the players all hate it. It's no longer fun. There's kind of a bad vibe. Like, do you have any advice for that sort of situation?
So I think to a certain extent that is situation to situation. So if you want to talk about the specifics of it a little bit, I'm happy to talk about that. But the general solution, I think, and I think this is part of a solution regardless, is to acknowledge it. Is to just be like, you know what, guys? I had this idea. I thought it was going to play out this way. It did not land. And I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the outcome of it. So let's retcon it and let's go back to before that happened. And let's make sure this continues to be fun. And just completely turn on meta and like pause and retcon. I've done that before. I think it's totally fine to do that. But again, it depends on the circumstance, I think it depends a little bit on the situation, but that generally would be my solution.
For sure. It's something that, like, as a DM, I would feel very anxious doing, even though I know it's probably the right way to go about it, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. And being anxious about it makes sense. And I think it's the type of thing where it's sort of like skydiving, where you're going to get more and more and more anxious until the moment. And then as soon as the moment happens, you are going to be like overwhelmed with like feeling of like chill and like release. Because no one, if I was in that situation, let's say I did that. Let's say I killed an NPC. I gave the finishing blow to an NPC. I did something that like took the wind out of the sails or offended someone or something. If I don't address it, that hot air is going to linger in that room forever. But as soon as I point a finger at it and be like, hey, that I fucked up, that humanizes me, and it makes everybody finally be able to talk about the thing that they weren't able to talk about, and like, you know what I mean? And like it will be a calming thing. It will feel stressful before it happens, but no player is going to be like, I can't believe you told me that thing that I didn't like, I wasn't good.
I'm totally gonna do that. I'm a terrible person. No, I get that. It just always sucks when it's like otherwise a good game. Like you're having a fun time and you're having a great, and then something happens and everyone knows that it just wasn't. It just didn't. Just something happens which ruins the vibe.
Yeah,
and
it's a bummer. It's a bummer. It's a
feeling.
bummer when it happens. But I think that's one of the things that is the double-edged sword of D&D, which is if you really want to understand what it feels like to play a D&D game, you have to play like 10 sessions. Because a single session can be many things, but it never is everything a D&D game should be. Everything a D&D game should be is collected in the totality of the game. And along that roller coaster, there are going to be big ups and big downs. And some of them are going to be plot ups and downs, and some of them are going to be social ups and downs. But it's like in the moment it sucks, and it never doesn't suck. But I do think it's one of those times where it's good to take a step back and be like, this isn't the thing. This is the thing. We're building something bigger. I fucked up today, but I'll be better tomorrow. And 3 sessions from now, they're going to remember maybe that session, but not that feeling is going to be gone. Like we're going to be done with it. I don't know. That's sort of how I feel about it. Like, D&D is the collective experience, but it does suck. It does suck when it happens, but that's why you got to just bear it, man. Owning up to fucking up is something that everybody appreciates. Nobody is like, I can't believe they took responsibility and they acknowledged my feelings. Even like the biggest assholes in the world, they might even like the coldest, most like unin-touch, selfish assholes in the world, they might not acknowledge that they feel good because their feelings are getting acknowledged, but they will, and that is going to be what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the most important step you can take is the next step. Always, and also it's kind of liberating for yourself to own up to when you mess up.
Oh my god, it's so freeing. It feels like a weight off your shoulders.
For sure, yeah.
Cool. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Do you want a quick philosophy question to ponder?
Very quick.
Okay.
Or very long, but not medium.
No. It's a short one.
Take a minute or take 10. But if you take 4, this is over.
All right. 2 slices of bread. You put them both in the toaster. All right. You get them out of the toaster. They're both warm. You butter 1 slice of bread. Do you eat the buttered slice of bread and have one?
Wait. I'm so sorry. I got distracted watching the bits fall into the Plinko board. Can you start over?
So distracting. All right. Okay. 2 slices of bread. You put them in the toaster. Get them out of the toaster. They're both toasted. They're both hot. They're both lovely. You put butter on 1 slice of bread. Do you eat the buttered slice of bread, or do you butter the other slice and have 2 mid slices of bread, or one good slice and 1 like bad slice, or 2 mid slices of bread?
I have an easy answer to this because this is one of those questions that is also, it depends on like what time of day it is.
Oh, man, so deep.
Because I do think it's very situational, you know? You know what I mean?
I feel
time of day has a big impact.
Yeah, like if it's at midnight, you kind of just take the 2 mid slices of bread.
Yeah, it's at midnight. I'm having 2 slices of toast. If it's midnight, I'm putting the work into butter toast. That's a lot of work for me at night. I don't do much.
True.
I'm getting 2. But if it's breakfast, I might not even want 2 pieces of toast. I might decide that one of them is going to be fun thing to play with pigeons on the way to school or whatever, you know?
I see. So I should keep pigeons in my closet.
No, on the way to school. On the way to school as you walk down the path. You know, I just assume that every person with an accent lives in the Peter Pan version of England, where there's just like cobblestone hills and ducks, and as far as the eye can see. I know that's probably not true.
I do kind of live in the middle of nowhere. Like I live.
Yeah, so then you know. Listen, do you have any? Aren't there some crows that you could make friends with that other piece of toast? Have you ever tried to make friends with a crow?
We have 3 sheep, and we just got a sheepdog. Just kind of out of the middle of nowhere, so I could feed them to some sheep.
Yeah. Is your sheepdog insane? All sheepdog I have ever met are like, they're just a rubber band that is pulled as tight as it possibly can be, and they're just waiting for someone to release them at all times.
They do take a lot of entertainment. They need to be stimulated, but they are wonderful dogs.
No, I love them. My dog isn't a sheepdog, but she's mixed, but she's got she looks like a sheepdog, but she's got all sorts of weird stuff in her.
Awesome, yeah.
But yeah, they need a lot of energy. They need a lot of attention.
They do. I won't take up any more of your time. Have fun. Have a good rest of the stream.
All right, buddy. See ya. Click. I think it's a quantity versus quality question. And I think that quantity or quality changes depending on where I am in my universe. Fun talking to you too, guy. Get out of here, Gary. Go to bed. Or whatever you do. Whatever time of day it is where you are. I don't know any ducks. I wish I knew ducks. Yeah, Gemjar knows some ducks. If you live and you own sheep... Okay, you know how people talk about there are like theories of the universe and there's like laws of physics and stuff? Here's one that a lot of people don't talk about. If you own a sheep, you know at least 1 duck. Guaranteed. There has never been a human being in the existence of this planet that has owned a sheep and didn't at least know a duck. Look it up. Look it up. True life. You believe it, you should. I would never lie to you. I do lie to you sometimes. I'm not going to lie about that. But I will tell you that I will lie about it too also, though. So I guess you can figure that out. You figure that mystery out yourself. Hey, Sally. I asked a few weeks ago about how to find a new group to play with after my group imploded. I'm now in a game with some awesome people, and it's been the best D&D I've ever played. Havoc. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Also, wait. A clap for Gemjar. And also a clap for Havoc finding a new game. Malkov, what's up, buddy? If you were to make a pact of the ancient dragon, what would its first level feature be? It depends on what vibe. If I wanted to go with the vibe that you were getting dragon type powers, I might try to do something weird with giving you a different type of draconic breath that you could activate a certain amount of times per day that could maybe do a variety of different things. But if I was gonna make a, if I was gonna make, whoa, it's so loud. If I was gonna make a dragon warlock, I might go in a different direction with it, and I might go in the direction of what sort of powers would a dragon give a warlock to go out and do their bidding. So I might turn it into, like, you have, like, weird abilities over, like, elements, and the ability to, like, sense treasure, and maybe give you, like, true sight and stuff. Like, you would be like an agent of the dragon to help them, like, find things that they wanted. And honestly, the main reason why I would do that is because I do feel like there's so many people that try to make dragon subclasses, and I feel like there's only so many ways you can make, like, a breath weapon, flight, fear, true sight vibe feel interesting without, like, you know, giving it some unique nuance. Pointy Hat has a dragon warlock. Yeah, you should definitely check it out. Pointy Hat is so good. I don't like to acknowledge when I'm slightly jealous of the skill in other people, but he is one of the people that I'm slightly jealous of the skill of.
Admission time. Never actually played D&D.
No worries.
Always wanted to. Role-played in other games. Got sucked into reading lore and mechanics, but never actually found humans to play with.
You'd be surprised how many people that you are the same as. You should try to find people to play with. It's not that hard, man. If you're still in school, there's probably folks that play D&D in your school. If you're not still in school, there are probably D&D clubs in your area. I live in Philly. There are at least a couple local gatherings. There's, like, Facebook groups for, like, D&D games and stuff like that. And you could also ask around at your work. But look around. Look for the players. Offer to try to run it. See what happens. Or find games online. There's Reddit has a subreddit called LFG, which is looking for groups. My Discord has a looking for groups section where people can ask to be done, look for players. Look around, man.
Don't you ever
you're gonna find
start
it.
playing promo code to help people find a game as well?
I do. I do. I don't really use it anymore because I forgot about it, if I'm being honest. But I could try to find it. But I do. I have to... You're putting me on the spot. Put me on the spot. I think it's Cinder. I don't remember what it is. I do. I'll find it. I'll post it in the Discord later. I don't remember what it is right now. Sorry. Cinder, be more professional. Sorry. No, you are being helpful. You are being helpful. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Hey, Cinder, I want to make a path of the storyteller barbarian with bard feel. Any suggestions for other than performance proficiency? I would make them similar to, like, an ancestral guardian barbarian, where they were not getting extra damage with their rage. They were getting, like, a utility buff mechanic, where, what did you say you wanted them to be? Storyteller. Like, what if when you rage, what if it's like this? What if it's like the Beast Barbarian, where when you rage, you can pick from, or the Storm Herald Barbarian is actually a better example, where when you rage, or maybe either go with the Storm Herald Barbarian or the Totem Barbarian, where at 3rd level, when you rage with the Totem Barbarian, think about it like this. At 3rd level, pick a story type. Drama, tragedy, comedy, and then when you rage, you gain a special benefit based off of that, or you have, like, an aura that gives a benefit based off of that. And then at higher levels, maybe you could get access to, like, a little bit of magic. Like, maybe at 10th level, once per day, you could cast legend lore or something like that. That could be cool. But that's what I would do. I would go into, like, utility, buff, debuff, and I would lean into the types of stories that you tell while you rage have an impact on the battlefield. That would be cool. Would I allow Kalishtar's Mind Link effect to act like the somatic components of spells? No. Well, yes, but no. It depends on what was in my game. If I had any sorcerers in my game, I would say no. And if I had an aberrant mind sorcerer in my game, I would definitely say no. Because there are specific D&D mechanics that are designed to allow you to cast the somatic components of spells without talking. And to give that to someone for free for all their spells would not be nice if another character had to use a sorcery point to do that. Because it also prevents them from being counterspelled most of the time. Or from people recognizing that there's even spells being cast. Or who's casting them. One of the things I'm struggling with is coming up with some mundane magic items that would exist in everyday life for citizens of the city. You should just think about it like sci-fi. Think about it sci-fi, man. When you imagine a sci-fi society in the future, what kind of stuff do they have to make their life easier? And then just reflavor it to magic. Moving walkways, you got a conveyor belt tensor's floating disc that just is the sidewalk. iPhones, you just have a little watch that you hit a button and lets you cast sending through text, a bunch of times per day. Or every house has a wand of prestidigitation for cleaning purposes, and every kitchen has all the pots and pans are infused with it as well, so that you can affect the flavor of things. And just start to think about like what sort of things would be in that world that would make life easier. What's your opinion on significantly changing the mechanics within a class effect for the purposes of narrative? Would you let a paladin smite do force damage and extra damage against celestials if their oath is all about preserving free will? Something like that, changing creature types and damage types to better fit the narrative, I think is really easy to do, and I think you definitely should do. I think changing bigger mechanics than that kind of comes down to your table. Because you just have to decide, it just comes down to, is everyone cool with that? Is the balance going to feel good? Is everyone still going to feel good? That sort of thing. How would I make a trickster vengeance god as a boss? I probably wouldn't make it a combat encounter. I'd probably make it like a series of... I'd probably make it like a whole adventure that turned out to be a series of tricks to trap the players in something, or I would lean into the tricks. I would try to gaslight the characters into oblivion. That's what I would do. How would you homebrew a kaiju? Dragon plus Tarrasque. Dragon plus Tarrasque. Kaiju. Or any of those giant monsters. Look at any of the Elder Elementals. The Xanatar, which is a giant turtle and makes earthquakes. The Leviathan, which is a giant sea thing and it makes tidal waves. The Elder Tempest, I think is what it's called, which is the storm one. And then the Phoenix is the fire one. And they all get powers that kind of tie to their element. But you could really easily pull those features out of them and put them in a new monster and reflavor them to be representing the monster being really big. So instead of like Leviathan, I have the power of water. No, it's just so big that when it swings its tail, it creates a giant wave. Or it's not that this is an earth elemental monster, so it can like control the earth. It's just so big that when it walks, it makes earthquakes. That sort of thing. I'm okay at class making. I that is not my strong suit. I have not made many classes. I have made 2. And I was only a part of the process on both of them. One of them I had a much bigger hand on than the other. And they both are going to be in my book, Waste and Wild. Which, if you want to follow along, it'll be coming out at some point in the next million years. We're still setting it up, trying to get the Kickstarter together. But the other class that I started to make, and I started making it on stream, was something called, I think I was calling it the Mesomorph, or the Metamorph, but I was trying to make a Shapeshifter class. And it was coming together all right. We worked on it in a while. I did a little bit of tweaking on it behind the scenes. I still am not 100% sure how I feel about it. how would I run a kaiju? I would probably make it an encounter like the one in... I would either make the adventure around the players trying to avoid it, deal with the like effects of it, like save the people of the city as it destroys the city, and then the adventure would be they need to find a MacGuffin to kill it, or they need to find a way to get super big, or like to get a pet robot, and then have it be like a big robot versus monster fight. Or I would have them fight it like the way that what's-his-name fights Kronos in not Game of Thrones, in God of War, where the fighting Kronos is the first part of that level is literally climbing his body and like fighting monsters on his body to get high enough on him so that he could actually fight him. I have a good day. Yeah, I've done much more with subclasses than I have with classes. Smolder is probably going to come back next week. I think that this is the plan. I think the plan moving forward for stream schedule is going to be, we're going to try to have at least one either normal open wheel day where there's no plot or themes, or themed one, but like for it's just a big wheel where we're doing, everybody sending in a type of homebrew with me, and then we'll do one with Smolder, and then some combination of other stuff. But I would like to do more Smolder. It was fun. It seemed like everyone enjoyed it, and I didn't mind taking the night off, except for those few moments where I felt like he was being a little too inappropriate. How many Blocksallys will you see? I'm not sure. Ideally, not too many more. They do not like you guys. What, Helldivers? Helldivers is good. No Helldivers tonight. Tonight I have to finish work. I'm not going to finish it. Tonight I have to keep working on this video. All right, let's see. Let's grab Hakase. Hello, Hakase. How's it going? Hakase?
Hello?
How's it going, buddy?
Hi. Sorry, I had to press the mute.
No worries. What can I do for you tonight?
Yeah, so I'm running my game in 13 minutes.
Cool.
I have a question for you about wave combat, if you will.
Sure.
So the idea is the players are entering into this hotly contested territory, the heart of a hive's domain.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer they stay there, occasionally there will be a massive swarm.
Mm-hmm.
The initial idea was that since there's different kinds of bugs that will use different tactics,
Mm-hmm.
I'll roll like on rounds 1, 5, or 1, 3, and 5. I'll roll a die, and whichever comes up, a different kind of bug type will come out. So maybe it's a bunch of small ones, one big one, guys that shoot webs from a distance, that kind of thing. But I am aware that having combat run on too long, especially if there's a lot of enemies, can get kind of grating sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is the best way to emulate the feel of getting mobbed by enemies without the frustration of having too many enemies? I'm also already doing mob combat.
I was gonna say, okay, well, depending on how you do mob combat, that's one thing, but I think that it's just a matter of sort of, for me, in those situations, I turned it almost more into like a skill check challenge where I'm not doing too many attack rolls, I'm not doing like too many, like, you make an attack. I'm basically like, okay, what do you want to do? And if the barbarian's like, okay, I want to spin in a circle with my axe and close my eyes and scream and try to become a whirlwind, I'm going to be like, okay, you're going to make an athletics check. If you close your eyes, I will allow you to deal more damage, but you're going to make that check with disadvantage, or try to give them some silly element. And then I'm sort of just thinking about like the process of the battle, less of like how much, it's less of like the numbers and more of like how many successes they're having as they're trying to do the thing. And incorporating spells into that too, where it's like, okay, if I cast web on those guys that are running towards us, could I like get them like balling up into each other? Like just allow players to sort of think outside of the box and not make it feel like a bunch of cool anime moments and less like a traditional combat encounter.
Okay.
That's usually what I do. Maybe throw a little bit of combat encounter in there, but if there's like more than 5 bad guys, the encounter is not about fighting all the monsters mostly. It's usually about doing a thing, and the monsters are a part of that thing. Or, so it's you know, combat might be happening, but it's not going to end with them needing to kill. Like, if I had like more, yeah, because it just gets so long. It gets so long.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll just lower the size of each swarm. Maybe it's 5 enemies tops for each swarm. That way, I can still have it feel like they're getting mobbed, but there are fewer actually creatures they're fighting.
You could also impose certain things where it's like, if there's too many creatures around them, it's harder for them to do stuff, things like that. But generally, I don't like combat that lasts more than 4 rounds or 5 rounds max. So I go out of my way to make combat feel intense when it happens. Like, everything hits really hard, everything really matters. But I don't want to have a 10 round or a 20 round combat encounter. I feel like that gets tedious. Yeah. Unless it's like a big final boss, and then it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Even then it gets kind of tedious.
Yeah, that I can see that. Yeah, would like the other thing though is that I want it to feel like the swarm builds and then it subsides, and they have more time to complete their objective. Like they need to go quickly, but also every time the swarm does come, they need to fend it off for a while and then go. So probably it would be probably 3 or 4 round combat. And I was thinking of just having some of the monsters arrive late. So, you know, you have your fast guys arrive first, and then your slow tanky guys arrive maybe on the 2nd or 3rd round or something like that.
Yeah, that could work.
Okay.
Having different waves, I think, helps a lot too. Think like doing wave combat, that could work nicely. That way it won't get boring either if you give each wave kind of like a different vibe. You know?
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Have you played Deep Rock Galactic before?
Yeah, I haven't played enough of it yet, but I do absolutely love it. I've been on a Helldivers kick lately, but I like Deep Rock Galactic. I'm not good at it. I've played it like 4 times, but in the 4 times that I played it, I was like, I love this game. I will play more of this game.
Yeah, it's kind of like, actually, that's exactly what I'm emulating. It's like they need to mine as many minerals as they can, and then get the heck out of there before they get overrun. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds fun. All right, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make the changes. Thank you.
You can do whatever. You don't have to make changes, but
I mean,
do what you want.
Helpful, though.
Do what you want. All right. Enjoy. Good luck on your game.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Little round of applause for Akase. Alrighty. Oops, that's the wrong button. Alrighty, folks, we are going to start wrapping up for the night. Thank you to everybody that's been here. If this is your first time being here, consider giving me a follow or a sub or a membership, but definitely not if you can't afford it. And other than that, I will be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow I am streaming, not on my channel. Tomorrow I am playing as a character in a Daggerheart game that is going to be streamed over on Captain Carson's channel, excuse me. And I shall share it in my Discord. But that's going to be tomorrow night. So if you want to participate or see me doing stuff, you totally can and should. Rex, did you just gift 5 subs? Thank you, man. That's very kind of you. That's very, very generous of you. You don't have to do that. You didn't have to do that, but that's very nice. Oh, I think they're all going to go off. Are they all going to go off? Yeah. All of them. Here, give me more. Give me more. One more. 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 And another. And another. And another. All right, this number at the bottom is supposed to go up. I don't know why it's not going up. That's annoying me. All right, I'm going to look into that. All right. Anyway, you guys are absolutely amazing. Rex, that's very kind of you. You're very, very, very generous. You are all very generous. Let's give one final round of applause to everybody that asked questions, and especially folks that came on stream. It's a very scary thing to speak so publicly. So let's little round of applause to everybody for participating. You're all great. You're all lovely. Alrighty. Okay, folks. As the good book says, at night, all cows are brown. You guys have an amazing night. We're gonna go raid a really good content creator named Madaloon, who's running a game with some pretty heavy-hitting people, which is pretty cool. So there it is on YouTube, and we're gonna go raid over to her in a second. Have a great night, everybody. Be good to each other. Ending credits. You guys know that we have ending credits? Because we do now. All right. Be good. I love you. Goodbye. Goodbye. I love you. Nope, that's not it. Credits. Go. Credits. Go. There they are. I found them. Credits are going. All right. Love you. Love you guys. You're the best. Thank you, Okalo's new followers, Flair, J Crawfish, Little Turtle, Pear to Echoes, Soul Hunters, Dabba, Skrivers, Keyboard, Tika, Burns, Lizzle, Wabbajack, Kiera, Stupid Butt. This new subs, Dennis, Aloof, Warring, Ben Black. New subs and resubs, Hot Spoon, Dr. Space, new members, Devilman, Matt Thorne, Ghost Ninja, Bildo, Altarthus, and all of these cheers from McKaylin and Lizzie and Dr. Slobbin, and all. Look, thank you for the moderators. You guys are the best. Oh my God, what a night. You guys are the best. Don't forget, listen, you know what they say, everybody loves everybody, and you better be nice. Now go be nice over on Madaloon's channel. We're gonna go raid her. Tell her I say hi. Be good to each other, and I'll see you guys later. Check the Discord. New video should be coming out this weekend. New video this weekend, probably. Love you, bye. You too.